All right, y'all. Welcome to All Politics of Local America's number one political hip hop radio talk show. Y'all know if it's Friday, y'all know it's time for All Politics of Local. So we're just getting started. I'm gonna wait for the rest of my co-hosts to jump on, but in the meantime, I'm gonna give you the rundown, tell you what's gonna be happening. So as we wait for Jonathan and Brother Zaid and Donna, so coming up at 6 p.m., we're gonna talk to the ladies who were on with us a couple of weeks ago. We're going to talk about the Caribbean uh, luncheon and talk about the entire month celebrating the Caribbean. So we're going to talk with both of them, and when we get them on, we'll introduce them to you all. And then, of course, coming up at 6:30, we're going to talk to Jesse Nevel, and we're going to talk with them as well at 6 o'clock. So we're going to have a conversation about the electoral strategies and the update of the Uhuru 3. And then, of course, at 7:30, we're going to talk with the activist Lisa Davis. Of course, you all know she's been on before. Well, Zaid is here, so he can talk a little bit more about the rundown as it relates to what's happening at 7 o'clock, Zaid, and what's happening at 7:30.
7 o'clock, and greetings, everyone. And I'm in and out because I'm actually trying to get the link to some of our guests because we got
So,
it. Um, Two sharp young people from the Uhuru Movement are going to join us. Akile and Jesse Nevel, both who ran for office representing the Uhuru Movement as an independent radical strategy. Jesse ran for mayor of St. Petersburg, and Akile ran for city council with him. And it did rather well, and they're very well organized, and very clear about how you're supposed to operate in that space, genuinely representing the people. And I don't think either one are 30 yet. They're young and they're really sharp. And they
okay,
did this run several years ago. Jesse, unfortunately, is one of the Uhuru 3.
right.
The three movement leaders who are going to be put on trial in September. Jesse is one of the three. Omala Yeshitali, Penny Hess, and Jesse Neville. So we're going to talk about both their radical incursion into electoral politics and of course getting ready to support them in their case.
Okay.
Lisa, we're just finding out, was harassed and given some charges of a very bogus kind at a recent rally that she participated in, and insofar as Palestinian solidarity goes. There's a group called Soma that has been doing what they call ceasefire Fridays since all of this blew up in Gaza. And on one of these Fridays, apparently Lisa was the only black person in the mix, and some racists actually, charged their rally, and thinking they're, regular American tax-paying suburban citizens. They actually thought the police were going to help them. No, the police
Right.
turned on the black woman.
Wow.
They turned on the black woman, right? So we want to lift that up. There's a petition that's out on her behalf. We'll share that out. I haven't seen the video footage that she just shared. But I don't know if we can get to that tonight. But it's just some bogus stuff in a town, steeped in the facade of liberalism that is so Jersey, where underneath that facade is a whole lot of real serious racist baggage that needs to be called out and checked for what it is, right? So that's 7:30. On 8 o'clock, no stranger to these airwaves, the great Lawrence Hamm was coming off a run for New Jersey Senate with the volunteer crew of about maybe 7 to 10 people, garnered over 45,000 votes,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And ain't nothing to sneeze at. And I wish the Democratic Party wasn't so damn corny in New Jersey. They need to look at him another way,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
But they don't. Nevertheless, People's Organization for Progress is hosting their annual Juneteenth Reparations March and Rally next Saturday, I'm sorry, the 22nd. And the organization does not separate Juneteenth from the struggle that is intimately bound up with, and that is the question for reparations. And it's always a powerful gathering that they've been doing for the last several years, co-sponsored with the New Jersey Institute for Social Justice. We're going to talk about reparations in a minute, right? And then all of that. Of course, we'll wind up with the great DJ Rhino, greatest DJ in the universe, to tell us what's happening in the land of hip hop.
Yep. So I see. I don't see the ladies on camera, but I do see them in the back. So, um, okay, I see them on camera. All right. So we've got the two ladies back again. So I don't butcher their names. I'm going to ask you, Esther. I can read English like that, but she got that beautiful name over to the right. I don't want to butcher it. So you want to say your name for me, sister, so I don't butcher your name.
Of course. Good evening, everyone. So my name is Rafeeza Shahabudeen, and I'm happy to be here again today with you all.
Right. Thank you. And of course, our beloved sister over there, Esther. You want to say your name, Esther?
Yes. Good evening, everyone. My name is Esther Lewars.
All right. Well, listen, ladies, welcome back. I heard that you all had a successful luncheon down at the CVB office. I heard the line. In fact, someone sent me a picture, and I saw the line was around the corner. Was what I mean? Was that all day long? Did y'all run out? Wait. Let me ask you a question. Did y'all run out of food?
We did.
I heard
We
that.
did. Yes. This was the first time having a Caribbean Heritage Month Taste of the Caribbean luncheon to acknowledge and recognize Caribbean Restaurant Week, which is this week, June 9th to 15th. And so, yeah, we had it from 11 to 2 p.m. We anticipated about 100 people coming out, but a lot more than that showed up. And
Yeah.
so now we know for next time, to have more food, probably more restaurants, more variety, but still making things accessible to the public, at least once.
Great. Great. And now, what I heard was y'all had a real good DJ. I heard it was the Feel of Caribbean going on, and were there people dancing?
Yes, I do have videos of people dancing to some soca.
Okay, okay,
Yes, yes, yes. We did have a DJ Earl. He is a resident DJ at Club Eclipse, and so that's my spot that I go to whenever I want to hear some Caribbean music. They're on Fabian Place in Newark, and we also had a steel pan. I don't know if your
hmm,
contact told you about that. We had a steel pan player, Mr.
oh
Wentworth.
yeah,
The
Yeah,
most
so it was.
original contributions to music coming from the Caribbean, from our ancestors, making a way out of no way out of just the waste of industry and exploitation and pollution becomes one of the cream of the crop original music from the Caribbean. I'm just lifting some stuff up. Y'all keep riding. As I get down, y'all. Y'all good.
yeah. So so now y'all were expecting about 100 people, but what was it, like 200 or 300 people showed up?
I would say at least 200, based on the number of plates that were handed out, and I had to order food. So the food, we had two main restaurants, A
I
and
was getting
J
ready to ask who
Caribbean
was the
Taste.
chef. Yes, yes. Go ahead. Come.
Yes, A and J Caribbean Taste. They're at 140 or 150 Halsey Street. So they provide a Guyanese cuisine. And then we also had Sun Island Plate. They're on South Orange Avenue, and they're also 24-hour. So they provided the Jamaican feel, the jerk chicken, some Rasta pasta, rice and peas. So
You want me
those were the
curry
two
goat with rice
restaurants.
and peas, a lot of gravy on the rice, some plantains, everything.
Plantains, definitely. Yes, have to have the plantains.
Sounds
Yeah, so
good.
in addition to that, we also had some two pastry individuals, Miracle Cakes. They're out of Trinidad, and Sweet Yummy. They are Dominican based.
Mm.
So those were the main vendors that were there that day.
Esther, you're more than welcome to put that information in our chat so we can lift that up and share that with our listeners too.
Okay.
All
And
right.
we did have a exquisite party rental that was helping, to serve and assist with the day.
That sounds incredible. Sounds really incredible.
And Rafeeza, you want to share anything? What you thought about it?
Absolutely. So I was also there, and the luncheon was very well attended. There were so many people, good music, good vibes, good food. It was just an overall great day for everyone to come experience some Caribbean culture, Caribbean food, Caribbean music. And the next time, you all have to come and join us and be a part of this.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's funny because when you guys were on last time, I was trying to, get there, but I had so much going on. But when I started seeing those pictures, I was like, I was going to ask someone to save me a plate, but I knew that
Again,
wasn't going to happen. I knew that wasn't going to happen. But that was the
Yeah,
kickoff.
I actually had to order more food. So yeah, it was done, and I said I should have taken a picture of those pans. Like everything was completely gone.
Yeah, yeah. So that was the kickoff for the Caribbean Month Festival. Is that the kickoff for everything?
So I think that could be, the introduction to the festival, right, which is on the 29th. But we did start off Caribbean Heritage Month with Newark Caribbean Reads. So that was the first week of
remember, yeah,
June from. So that's what we started off.
yeah, I was
Started
telling
off
you, Mr. Garvey's philosophy and opinions. Yes, yes.
right,
We had you on the
definitely.
last time.
So we had individuals, commissioners, as well as community members that went into school. So we had Great Oaks Charter School. We read to second and third graders. Phillips Academy, Shabazz. I think that was
Yeah,
it. And we have some Shabazz High School.
that's good to hear.
So Commissioner Rafeeza can talk some more about that because she was
That's
one of
good.
our readers.
Yes. Come, talk,
Absolutely.
come, daughter, talk. This is radio. You got to talk.
So, the Newark Caribbean Reads, headed by Commissioner Chanel Thompson, was an initiative as part of the Caribbean Heritage Month. Several commissioners, as well as community members, came to different schools, as Commissioner Lewars mentioned, and read to the children, and just kind of expose the students to and promote Caribbean literature, as well as expose the students to different Caribbean authors. So, Malcolm X Shabazz High School was one of the schools, St. Philip's, as well as Great Oaks and a few others. So that's taking place now and continuing throughout the whole month of June.
Now, why I lifted up Shabazz for several reasons.
Mhm.
Folks might not know. I run the Malcolm X Commemoration Committee in New York City. Malcolm is huge in terms of my own line of work, but in the struggle for trying to make our schools solvent and where they should be in Newark, Shabazz has been taking a lot of hits, right? Shabazz is coming out of some serious difficulties. In some cases, the school, and at least the building, was even targeted by the charters before we, I ultimately won community control of our Board of Education back. So when I heard Shabazz, that's something electric just went off in me because we want to see Shabazz, who's got that long, very proud Southside legacy, make its comeback. And second, just an idea, something some touch points that we're looking at going into next year. Next year is Malcolm's centennial of the great Malcolm X. And the autobiography centennial is in October of next year. And so we're going to be doing some things, trying to use the autobiography, some really meaningful touch points in communities where we're trying to do work, and which we would love to consider doing something at Shabazz to lift up that legacy. Malcolm X Shabazz High School was the first institution in the country named after Malcolm X. And it's a heritage that we ought to really genuinely appreciate, like we should all of those spaces that we have named and reclaimed after our heroes and our ancestors. I just wanted to get that in because it's important to appreciate that. And by the way, him model from Grenada. There's some
Yes.
serious research coming out on the great Louise Langdon Norton Little, who was a proud, brave Garveyite, who not just contributed to the Negro World, Garvey's newspaper, but was a part of a select underground that actually hid Mr. Garvey out when the authorities were looking for him, both in the States and in Canada. If everybody's got liberal pretensions about Canada, still the white man up there is the white man, right? And they went through a lot That's the stock that Malcolm X comes from. Caribbean heritage, full effect.
And I have to say that the current principal is from the Caribbean, Miss Dr. Bachman from Trinidad and Tobago. And she has been great in supporting our students, and we'll get into that probably in a few. And I want to also acknowledge the Newark Board of Education for supporting our Newark Reads program, as well as our scholarship, where they, share the information, and the high school team made sure that students applied and were a part of the process.
Excellent.
And did you see that someone had asked a question? They wanted to know, what did y'all read when y'all kicked this off?
That's Josie. Josie's from Public Square Amplified. Public Square Amplified. It's a good alternate people's publication that she runs. Josie's got some strong Caribbean roots to her family, Rad family, coming from the Caribbean. Yeah. Go ahead. Good question.
Yeah, so we had books from the National Caribbean Book List. So every year they create a book list of Caribbean authors. And so we had about 5 books that were purchased, sets of books that were purchased and were made available. One of them was Big Tunes. Commissioner Rafeeza, I'm not sure if you remember the one that you read.
I did read Big Tunes. I read 3 of them,
okay.
And the students really loved the message, the moral. They were very engaged. They appreciated the points that the authors were from the Caribbean, and the books really referenced Caribbean heritage and spoke about the music and the food and some of the language that represents the culture. And the students were engaged, and some of them shared insight and stories of their Caribbean heritage or their parents. So that was very exciting.
Yeah, another one, Julie and the Mango Tree. Yeah, I can't remember them all, but they were like 5 sets of books that we had available.
I love mango trees. When I was in Cuba, I had mangoes hit me in the head.
So what are some of the things that are going to be going on throughout the month that folks can begin to put on their calendar and so forth around Caribbean Heritage Month?
So let's see. So Commissioner Shahabudeen, can you tell us about the scholarship that we did, the reception, and then we'll
absolutely. So thank you. So the 2024 Caribbean American Heritage Scholarship, we had came on the show and announced the application and the process for applying. So on June 12th at the City Hall Press Room, we had the awards reception, and the 5 recipients were selected. They were from Newark Public Schools. They represented, they were Caribbean or had Caribbean heritage, meaning their parents or grandparents. And after an extensive application process and just selecting, there were so many great applicants, and every video and all of the responses were just wonderful. It was just a very hard choice for us to make as a committee, but we narrowed it down, and we were able to select 5 students from Newark schools of Caribbean heritage or were Caribbean, and they each received a $1,000 check to further their education as they graduate in June. So that was very, very exciting, and their parents were invited, and it was a good turnout and a very nice awards reception. So
yeah, nice. And photos are available on the city website if you want to go see those.
So this was broadcasted on the city Facebook page?
It was recorded, so look out for the video. It should be posted shortly.
Okay. And there's photos.
But the pictures are already, there.
Are there? Yeah, and this was our first one, so we look forward to having our second scholarship gala this June, which is coming up next week, which Commissioner Lewars will further speak about. And of course, the sales from the tickets and the funds go towards our next year's 2025 scholarship recipients again that we hope to have.
Yes, the scholarship, the scholarships awardees. The pics are on the Facebook page of the city. The commission is being acknowledged on the Facebook page of the city, so folks can see that there for them. And appreciate
and Instagram.
Yeah, I'm terrible at IG. I'm right on to that.
And so now you were saying there was an application process, right? That the students needed to apply for the grants. Is that application up now for next year?
So it's not up
Not as
yet,
yet.
right?
Okay.
But it will be towards the end of the school year. Excuse me, not the end of the school year, the end of the calendar year, going into next, so the students have enough time towards the winter break to apply for the spring. So they have several months, and then they can apply for the spring. And then again, in June, we will award some recipients for the scholarship.
And how I mean, just offhand, how would the kids cope for the scholarships? Are they writing essays? Are they presenting some sort of video or something? How does that work?
So the scholarship application wasn't too long or extensive. There were 4 questions that were asked. What does Caribbean heritage mean to students? How would they utilize the funds? If selected as the winner, why they should be chosen. So it was 4 questions, and then the students had to submit a 2 to 3 minute video response, so we can kind of get to know them and see them, and that was basically it. And just fill out the Google form with their name, their school, and if they were Caribbean heritage, their parents or themselves, and just basically submit it. And that was it. It was nice and simple.
And it was primarily for Caribbean students.
Students that were from the Caribbean or Caribbean heritage, their parents or grandparents, correct.
And for students who were high school kids on their way to college.
It was for the seniors, the graduating class of 2024. So it was 5 seniors that were selected on the way to further their education.
Nice. So now for people who might want to, donate to that, how do they do that? To help those kids go to college. How do they do that?
So there is a link on the scholarship on the gala that's coming up next week that Commissioner Lewars will further speak about. So it's through purchase of tickets or donations, and there is a link in the QR where people can just donate or purchase a ticket or attend the gala.
How do they do that, Esther? And I can hear all that rain behind you.
That might be me, because I've been trying to close windows now. We got a storm coming. That's why I went on mute.
Yeah.
No, it's probably me. I'm in the car. So, yeah. So, let's see. On our Instagram and Facebook, the link should be there to purchase a ticket for the gala. The cost is only $100, and that includes food and beverage for the evening. And currently, East Ward Community Center is the organization that has partnered with us to manage any funds that we receive. So as a commission, we don't manage funds. We are a part of the city, so we work with organizations. And so we're very appreciative of East Ward Community Center for being that organization that is assisting the commission at this time. So if you want to donate, you can make out your donation to East Ward Community Center. And again, if you purchase a ticket, you will be contributing to the class of 2025.
And so I see that. So we talked about the scholarship recipients. We talked about the gala, and so the gala festival is going to be on June 21st.
Correct. That will be Friday, June 21st. So that is next weekend at around this time. We'll be getting ready for the gala. And it's going to be held at Avenue A. That's down Neck. And I can't remember the actual address, but search up Avenue A. It's a beautiful place. Last year, we had various individuals who attended. Our mayor came and acknowledged the commission for being the first group that really brought all of the various countries together. So every time, there is a country that celebrates and we have flag raisings, but this was the first time that we had an event where all of the countries, all the Caribbean came together to have a gala. And as you can see, the outcome of it was great. We raised $5,000 based on ticket sales, as well as generous donations from individuals. And so this year we want to do that again. We have about 6 individuals from the community that we're honoring. Our keynote speaker will be Miss Celia King, who is the CEO of Leadership Newark, and is from the Caribbean. And it starts at 7 p.m. through 12 p.m. So we'll have food, brief reception, honoring the honorees, as well as dancing. So we'll have a DJ that will be providing music, and it should be a great time of networking and celebrating the Caribbean heritage and closing out, closing out the end of the month.
And I see two dates though, right? I see something that says the 21st and the 29th. What's happening on the 29th?
So the 29th is the Taste of the Caribbean Festival. So that's going to be at Mulberry Commons. That's outdoors. It's the first time that we'll be having it. We have a DJ. We're looking to get a DJ, Kayla G, as a female DJ from the Caribbean, who's in New York. And I think she'll provide the vibes needed for that event. We'll have vendors. If you're registered with the city as a vendor, please sign up. There is a form that you will need to fill out, but you can still participate. So we have food vendors, we have people who are selling accessories, and we have entertainment as well, and fun activities for the family.
So now where's the link at, so that we want to try and put it on our Facebook page and our IG, so that folks can go and purchase the tickets and so forth? Is there particularly, so folks can put this on their calendar for both of those days? I got to be honest with you. I want to come to the one that y'all going to do on Mulberry Commons on the outside on the 29th. That should be really, really nice for the summer, right? And what time is that one supposed to start?
So that starts at 11 a.m. and ends at 4. We also have the Caribbean Medical Mission and Ghana Association for Medical Aid that's partnering with us to provide medical wellness checks. And they're going to be there from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. So officially 11 a.m., but you can come at 10 if you want to take advantage of the wellness checks. And also Foreign Physique, group in West Orange. They provide like Caribbean soca workouts. So they're going to be there about 1 o'clock to do group sessions. And, we're adding to it. We're finalizing it. But yes, definitely come out, because it's going to be, so the Taste of the Caribbean luncheon is a taste of what the festival will be like. So come on out. And yes, I will definitely, the link should be on the link to the gala is on our Instagram, but I'm going to make sure that the Facebook has it as well. So we are Newark Caribbean on Facebook as well as Instagram to see all of the things that we're doing.
And they can also purchase the tickets and so forth for the gala on the Facebook page as well as the IG.
Yes, there's a link on. Yes.
Is there anything else you ladies want to share with us before we let you go?
Yes. Not to mention is Vibes in the Park. So this isn't an event that the Caribbean Commission is organizing, but we are promoting and supporting it. It's happened about 2 years before in the summer, but this year they've moved it up to be in June to be a part of the Caribbean Heritage activities. And it's Vibes Live, I think the name of the group is. So that's on June 25th from 6 to 9 p.m. Same place, Mulberry Commons. So you just come on out. There'll be DJs and performances. Bring your chair and relax or listen and dance to music.
Is there anything you want to add?
So I just want to encourage students to look out for the next Caribbean American Heritage Scholarship that will be coming out, and just to apply and hopefully be selected for next year's graduating class of 2025. So be sure to look out for it. We'll make sure we post it, distributed flyers, and just go around to the schools to make sure everyone has an opportunity to apply for this scholarship.
Yep. Well, if you guys, we're going to go to your Facebook and try to take the link. But if you can send the link to the chat right now, we'll go on and put it up for folks if you want to put it into the chat. All right. We'll
So I want to add one more. Sorry.
Sure.
So I've talked about my book before, right? So in recognition of my grandnephew, Giovanni Cox, who passed away at 18 years old at the end of 2020, I am offering to all the students who applied to our first scholarship, the students who were not selected for the $1,000, in Giovanni's name, I am going to be offering each student a $25 graduation gift. So I'll be sending out an email to them shortly, letting them know whether they want to Venmo or Cash App. I'm going to make sure that they get something for at least trying to apply for this scholarship.
Oh, that's real nice. Why don't you tell people what's the name of the book?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Why don't you tell folks what the name of the book is?
Oh, okay. My book is called My Ultimate Self, How Death Became My Motivator. So it's encouraging people to be the best version of themselves, to connect with themselves, connect with God or the higher being that you serve, and find opportunities to serve others, because we all have an expiration date. So why not live your life, taking action, being purposeful. Whatever ideas that you have, you need to take steps to get it done. If you want to be a singer, you need to take action to become a singer, right? Whatever plans you have. So it's inspiring people to see that as something that, it's something that we don't really talk about, but we are affected by it. But how do you get past the grief and start to live in honor of your loved ones that that are no longer here?
Well, we're gonna
and
have
it's available on Amazon.
I think we probably mentioned this. We're gonna have you come back and let's talk about let's talk about it, because I think that just the title alone is absolutely an incredible title. So we'd like to talk about that and really delve into it. So maybe we can schedule to do that probably in the coming weeks. Have you come back and let's talk about it. Right.
Awesome. That would be great.
Add, Saeed, before we move on?
No, I just wanted to apologize. I'm dealing with Oya's bluster. She coming through with a big storm. And I've got some household challenges. Ladies, and you're both incredible teachers too. Really appreciate what you're doing, where you're doing it. Keep us in touch. Like I said, you can share the links. We can put them right up tonight. I'm trying to figure out how to get to all this stuff. A lot of it conflicts with what's being on the air. I would love to get to what you're doing. Just keep doing what you're doing. It's a rich heritage that we have. Everywhere our people went, we made a difference and made a way out of no way. Great many a story from the Caribbean that we all appreciate.
All right.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
We appreciate you, and good luck with everything.
Thank you. Thank you for having us again.
Saeed, I see we got Conrad in the back. I don't see John. You know what I mean? So I'm not sure what's going on, with him. So
listen, I might need a minute because this is something that we're dealing with in the house.
Okay.
Right? So bring him on and let him do what he's going to let him do his thing. And I'll get back at you in a few.
All right, brother Conrad, how you doing, my brother?
Brother Ed, how you doing, brother Zaid? Good to see you. Everybody, how's everything?
Good, brother. How you been?
I'm doing great.
Good,
yes,
man.
Sir. How you doing? You all right?
Oh, brother, I'm doing good. Praise God, brother. I'm doing good, man. You know, brother Conrad, one of the things I wanted to ask you about, man, and of course, we can talk about whatever you want, but I wanted to, what's going on with Congressman Jamon Bowman, man? What's going on over there?
Well, it's an interesting race. So, as everyone may or may not know, Congressman Jamal Bowman beat Elliot Engel several years ago when the socialists and the progressives took AOC won around that time. And what has happened with his district is that it's been redistricted. Um, the lines were changed. And so, he was a Bronx principal. And now his district does include the Bronx, but it includes a lot more of Westchester County. And so George Latimer, who has been a popular county executive, blacks liked him. He was the county executive. He became the candidate that many say AIPAC and some of the more pro-business forces selected and got to run against Bowman. And because the district has changed significantly, he's in trouble.
But you don't think it was? I mean, what I read is that they were saying that it was some of his erratic behavior that was really what it was.
Well, I mean, I was talking to a good brother about Jamal Bowman the other day, and I think Jamal Bowman gets a lot of things right, but a lot of things wrong. I'm uncomfortable that he is so close with the Democratic Socialists, and we're fighting them tooth and nail in places like Harlem and Bedford-Stuyvesant, where they're not only trying to gentrify our people, but they're also trying to take over the politics of our community. Hakeem Jeffries and many of us are backing Stephanie Zinnerman against a Democratic Socialist candidate, a guy who's never been involved in politics. He's in fashion. He works at Bergdorf Goodman in the fashion department. And the Democratic Socialists are running this black man that has, very little connection to the community, other than he's born in East New York, but he certainly is not of it. And, you can marry who you want. His wife is white. He's never been involved in the community. He's still a fashion salesman at Bergdorf Goodman on 57th Street. So how in the world would he serve the communities of Bedford-Stuyvesant, Crown Heights, Ocean Hill, Brownsville? And so we're in a fight like that with these Democratic Socialist forces. So Bowman's closeness to those folks makes me suspicious of him, some of the positions he's taken, but there are people who like him. And, when I ride through the Bronx and Mount Vernon, I see his signs. But when I ride through the wider parts of Westchester County, the Scarsdales, the White Plains, you see a lot of George Latimer signs. So that's going to be a very interesting race. It'll either be a win for AIPAC, which has put a lot of money into this race because of Bowman's pro-Palestinian positions, anti-Israel positions, and calling for a ceasefire, or either AIPAC will win, or the back will be broken of this mighty lobbying organization if he's able to pull it out. So, I'm watching it with great anticipation, but it is a very interesting race.
Yeah, and I see that 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 Hillary Clinton has backed the other guy over Bowman.
Yes, George Latimer again. Again, there's a real battle in New York State politics between the socialists and moderate Democrats. So it doesn't surprise me that Hillary jumped in for George Latimer. Uh, you know, there's a great deal of concern for Israel in New York State, and for a member of the squad that's been so critical of AIPAC, been so critical of Zionism, been so critical of Netanyahu, the fact that one is on the ballot, particularly in Westchester County, in a newly drawn district that is disproportionately white and suburban. You know, his head was he was a target, and you know they're going after him. So it makes sense from that standpoint. We'll have to see whether or not he prevails. He has a lot of money. He's got a lot of support. I think Bernie Sanders came out for him this week. Obviously, AOC, Hakeem Jeffries. I think, if I'm not mistaken, he has endorsed him, which, you know, it cuts against Hakeem's politics, but it also is a tradition among, you know, both parties that, generally speaking, the party will support an incumbent.
Yeah, but you know the thing is that, you know, what I saw with Brother Jamal Bowman is that, you know, he was taking some real stances from what I read. I mean, I don't know the brother. I'd love to talk to him, man, but he was, you know, taking some stances on, you know, the occupation that's been going on, the history of the occupation. I mean, he was, in my mind, he was given the history of what was happening in Palestine and Gaza, and because of that, I mean, he seems to be, you know, I mean, the article says, I mean, that you know, he's set to lose and that he's already accepted losing. I mean, that doesn't sound like the Jamal Bowman I know.
Well, again, you know, everything you just said is true. Everything the article covered, but you got to remember, you know, all politics is local, and
Right.
when the district was redrawn, you know, it changed his base. You know, he no longer had the large areas of black areas in the Bronx and the black areas of Westchester County. And so, you know, when you're running in places like Scarsdale, White Plains, you know, Rye, New York, you know, you're going to, particularly when you've taken the positions that Bowman has taken, you're gonna have stiff opposition in a district like that. So, you know, the district also has a lot of white progressives. So it's going to be a close race. I mean, Latimer is leading in the polls, but, you know, there's a great deal of power with incumbency. So we really just have to see what's going to happen. Yeah.
Well, I'm definitely paying attention to that race because I was definitely an early supporter of Jamal Bowman. I definitely, when the brother came on the scene, man, you know, and particularly we had, you know, some affection for him because he was a former principal, right? And
Yes.
You know, we subscribe to that, and so I'm really, you know. One, you know, I'm sad that they redistrict, they redrew the district the way that they did, and at this particular point, you know, that he just may not be in Congress, come the next term. But I understand that AOC endorsed him, so
yeah,
you know,
yeah. I mean, he has some strong support, and he's
yeah.
got a lot of financial backing. This race could go either way.
Yeah.
You know, I think he's probably right to prepare for the possibility of losing that seat. A lot of things shifted under him in this race, and he has a lot of opposition. And you know, this is the first shot over the bow, but there are many people who are lining up against some of those in the squad. Corey Bush in St. Louis has got a major race, and so these races will be very, very interesting. As I said, I generally like Jamal Bowman, but in recent years, he's become more and more associated with the Democratic Socialists, and you know, from our local standpoint, we're again at war with the DSA because they have, again, in central Brooklyn in particular, they have taken seats that have historically been held by people who were iconic in the African American community. And so I think if you read, the stories, Hakeem Jeffries, who is, the highest ranking, the leader really of the Democratic Party in central Brooklyn,
Right.
he and Tish James, Attorney General, have lined up strongly against these democratic socialist forces that are really seeking to obliterate Black political power in New York. So that's all I can say on it. I don't live in the Bronx or
Right.
Westchester, so
Right.
that's a race that they will decide. But that's just my handicapping, or not even handicapping, just analyzing.
Yeah. Yeah. I really appreciate your contribution because, I mean, for me, I mean, just like, you keep an eye on what's going on in New Jersey and particularly in Newark, we try to keep an eye on what's
Oh
going on
yeah,
in New York. I mean,
absolutely.
of course, Mayor Adams is going to be here in Newark tomorrow with Mayor Baraka.
Oh
And
great.
so, but for us, it is a matter of Black political power, right? Because, one of the things that Mayor Baraka said last week at one of the campaign rallies, he said, Brother Conrad, he said that people with power put people in power, right?
Yeah,
And if you're not in if you don't have any power, how are you going to put other people in power? You got to first get some power yourself,
you got to
right?
get some power, and unfortunately, the Democratic Socialists are basically taking Black power. They're
Yeah,
preparing now to run a Black candidate against Eric Adams from the left. So
yeah,
these folks, in my view, they need to be run out of public office in the Black community. They are taking advantage of the poor voting records of our folks, and
yep,
that's something that an organized group can take advantage of, and they're doing it. And as
yep,
a result of that, they are picking up seats throughout central Brooklyn, and they typically run young African Americans, often from the LGBTQ community, but most importantly, they run people who have had very little involvement in Black politics in these particular areas. And the 30% in Bedford-Stuyvesant, 30% in Harlem, really organized in terms of whites, can actually take a seat in these communities. And so Mayor Adams is fighting these forces. Hakeem Jeffries is fighting these forces, and Tish James is, and others. That's why it's a complicated calculus when you talk about Bowman, because on the one hand, you know, he's a Black man. He's taken some strong positions, but on the other hand, when it comes to
mhm,
issues like Black property ownership, uh, Black economic empowerment, I have some serious questions. So again, let's get away from that race, because I don't live in the Bronx, and that's going to be something that the Bronx and Westchester folks will work out. I'm backing Stephanie Zinnerman in central Brooklyn. She is a sister that has been a fighter. We had people in central Brooklyn like Al Van, Shirley Chisholm.
yeah,
I mean, just all manner of strong African Americans. Rhodey McCoy, people like Jitu Wiyusi,
yep,
Sonny Carson. The list goes on and on. And now we have a series of young Democratic Socialist candidates that nobody ever heard of, and they're taking over these seats with the help of a 30, a well organized 30% gentrifier vote. And so we're fighting tooth and nail to get Stephanie Zinnerman elected. Also, in Harlem, I'm backing Jordan Wright. Jordan Wright is running to Jordan Wright is the grandson of Judge Bruce Wright. He's the son of Keith Wright. And he was the brilliant strategist behind Yusef Salam's victory. He was Yusef's campaign manager. And Jordan is running now in the assembly to replace Inez Dickens. So again, we want to support people that we know. We don't always agree with the folks that we know, and it's not like they don't have mistakes and we can't critique them, but we do know them. Some of these other folks, we don't even know them. I mean, it shows how bold they are. Anytime they will run someone, somebody said, "Can you read that?" Oh, best brother Zayed.
Yeah.
I can't read. It said black socialists are not our contradiction to right wing. Well, let me say that sometimes, as Brother Tume used to brilliantly say, right wing, left wing is just two different wings on the same bird.
Yeah, he definitely said that.
Am I right or wrong? And so
that's what he said, right?
And so, I always say to black folks, who may be from the left, everything is contextual. If I was living in the Caribbean under white European imperialism, I probably would have been a socialist. But, what I'm saying to Brother Zaid and all of you that are listening, these socialists that are running in our community, they are a contradiction because they're surrounded by white people. They just had an article the other day. A reporter went out with him on a canvassing in the community. 20 people with him, not one black person. None of these people live in the community. Again, this guy works at Bergdorf Goodman in the fashion department. He's never even been to Albany. He's never had a leadership role in a black church, a black institution. We don't know him. So we don't want him to represent us in a district that produced Sonny Carson and Al Van. It is a contradiction because Central Brooklyn is filled up now with these similar type candidates, and they are taking black political power, and they are beholden to a international organization called the Democratic Socialists of America. They don't even think about black interests and agenda. They got their own agenda. So it is a contradiction. I don't know if they're over in Newark, but I know what they're doing in Brooklyn. So that's our concern. That's our concern. It ain't no right-wing people running in Brooklyn.
That is interesting, brother comrade. You know what I mean? And you're saying that they're well organized and well financed.
They're well organized. This man, who's never been in politics, has outraised the incumbent. He has outraised the incumbent. So we're all circling the wagons in Central Brooklyn to drive these people out of our community and out of our politics. They have no right to represent folks and in our community. And if they do, it is only because of the apathy of those in the African American community. And we're trying our best. We just were on a call with over 100 community leaders trying to stop this tide of folks in our community. So again, I understand we have members in the black community from the left, but every left-leaning formation is not to be celebrated. And these folks are not of our community.
Right.
They're not for our community. So I'm deeply concerned about anyone that is affiliated with these groups. I'm deeply concerned.
I think you see what Zaid said. He said Sonny Carson and Al Van would be supportive of these young G men.
No, he would. No, they wouldn't. Zaid, don't tell me about Brooklyn. Al Van died fighting these people. These are not. No, man, you got to come to Brooklyn and see what's going on. You don't know these people. These people are not for us. Al Van, don't put words in Al Van's mouth. Al Van died 3 years ago fighting these people and the control that they're trying to take from black Central Brooklyn. No, sir. I'm sorry. I will not allow that to stand. No, sir. Absolutely not. I sat in Al Van's home and we discussed what's going on with these folks.
So these people that you're talking about, Brother Cameron, they're not even from the community. They're not even
from the community. They're
so
not even from. You look up Jabari Brisport. You look up Eon Huntley. These people are handpicked by this white organization. And if you Google them right now and go to their Facebook pages and web pages, you'll see nothing but white people from outside of the community canvassing with them, supporting them. No, sir. These people are not in any way for the African-American community. No, sir. Emphatically no.
And would you say, Brother Conrad, that these people are part of that whole gentrification movement?
There's no question about it. There's no question about it. And that's why I said, you know, Central Harlem is down to 33% black when you count the Latino vote and whites. Central Harlem. Central Brooklyn is a little bit better, but with a critical 30% of the vote that's well organized, well financed. They have taken district leaderships. They have taken city council seat. They have taken the state senate seat. And now they're trying to take the assembly seat. Yes, sir. That's representing Bed-Stuy. That's representing Ocean Hill, Brownsville, Crown Heights. So, yes, this is of deep concern to us. I don't know what Zaid is saying. I wish he'd come back on because I'm trying to read. It says the neoliberal Democratic Party
isn't mostly white handpicking. These sellout Negroes, black socialists are not gentrifying anything. Stop.
Zaid, again, I don't know. I can't tell you what's happening in Newark, brother. I respect you, but you don't know what's going on in Central Brooklyn. You just don't know. Again, you Google Eon Huntley, you Google Jabari Brisport, and now you telling me that you know better than the people in Central Brooklyn about our community. No, that's no. All politics is local. And that's the name of your show?
Yes, sir.
Yes, okay. Sir. So these are not, you know, we like to build people up, and anybody that has the label of socialist, we want to make them a Che Guevara or some freedom fighter. These people aren't freedom fighters. This man works in fashion at Bergdorf Goodman. Never even been to Albany. Never been involved in a community organization. Just Google them. I'm telling you to Google these people.
Yeah, I tell you, Conrad, this is an interesting conversation. I think we're going to need to have and delve into it, because I think that was always one of the fears, right? When we talk about, gentrification and we talk about people.
Let me say that. I'm sorry, that last question. First of all, Black people need to wake up. First of all, I've been fighting for Palestinians when many of these people wouldn't even mention the word Palestinian. So just because people hook in on an issue and try to ride in on an issue, you have to look at their overall program, okay? You have to look at their overall program. In Central Brooklyn, the politics is not about what's going on in Palestine. A state assembly person doesn't determine that. We're talking about the resources in our community. And I'm telling you, anybody in Newark, New Jersey, or any other part of outside of our community, I just told you about the Jamal Bowman's race.
Yeah.
I don't live in that community, so I can't determine what happens in that community. And people that live outside of your community need to listen to the people in a community rather than trying to tell them what's going on from their limited knowledge.
I agree. I think that the people who live in the community definitely have, or the stakeholders, and they definitely know more about what's actually happening on the ground. So, Brother Conrad, we definitely want to pick up on this conversation, man, and we may have to do something special and put together a group of brothers and sisters from New York, and let's see what's really going on, and if it's possible to get some of those people on that you're talking about. Right, and see if we can have a conversation with them, because it is about,
well, I will tell you this,
maintaining that power.
I'll tell you this: Charles Barron tried to play footsie with him, and he lost his seat. Okay, Black people are not going for that in Central Brooklyn. Okay, so that somebody's revolutionary role playing. Black people are not going for that in Central Brooklyn. Chris Banks took Charles Barron out. Okay. Because he was playing footsie with these people. So Black folks are not going for that. We're fired up. We ain't taking it no more. Black people in Harlem ran a Democratic Socialist out of the city council seat. She had to quit. They put so much pressure on her. And Charles Barron tried to encourage her to stay in the race. And Youssef is in that seat today. So we're not playing. We're not taking no prisoners when it comes to Black political interests. These people are not for us. And we got to stop letting ideology drive us. You all don't know any of these people. So whether you know somebody who's a Black centrist or if it's the relationship. If we have a relationship, you don't know these people. These people are not, they just pop up. Just because they use a left title does not mean that we should be trying to make them, as I just saw somebody try to do, some freedom fighter. They're not freedom fighters. How you going to freedom fight from Bergdorf Goodman? That's your career, a salesman in fashion. And were it not for some white folks coming together and running you, you wouldn't even be in politics. How in the world can we try to justify that?
Wow. Well, Brother Conrad, thank you, my brother.
Okay. All right.
We definitely need to come back, man, and delve into this a little bit more, particularly around these elections, man. Thank you.
Appreciate you.
On,
all right. Okay.
All right, man.
All right.
Peace, brother.
Peace.
All right, peace. Can you hear me, Lisa?
Oh yes, I can hear you. But can you hear me?
I can. I see some other folks in the background. I don't see Zaid, so I'm not sure where these folks actually.
I think I thought according to the way the show is running, I was going to be coming on after. I was going to be coming on at 7:30. The brother Zaid will tell us. He'll inform us what to do.
Yeah, I see some folks in the background, Zaid. I don't know where they're supposed to fit in at.
Lisa's coming on at 7:30.
Okay.
Akile and Jesse are coming on now.
Okay.
Right? By the way, these are socialists who ain't heard of gentrified no goddamn body. All right? So, I mean, that's another conversation. Let Conrad have his mess. But that's bullshit. Right? And we'll deal with him another way, another time. Right? Yeah. All right. Okay.
These are all of the folks, Zaid?
No, yeah, these are the young folks I'm very proud of. And let me just give y'all some background. Everybody ain't the same on our show, right? We have some serious disagreements, and there's a brother who's just on before us who was like night and day from him and for me and him in terms of our politics. Because y'all just walked into an argument where he's just trashing folks from the left because he dancing with the right. See, and that's what that's about, right? When black and brown and progressive socialists win, the community, that means the community has been supporting them. So they've done their work to earn the community support. And that's objective, factual, and real. And that's the kind of stuff we need to build on. So, having said that, let me introduce in a profoundly proud way Jesse Nevel and Akile Anai, two young people who shook up St. Petersburg, Florida when they ran for office just a few years ago. Jesse ran for mayor and Akile ran for city council. They are proud players in the Uhuru Movement, right? And Jesse has a painful distinction of being one of the Uhuru Three, right? I don't think the feds came after him, and that's the left wing of the neoliberal establishment, i.e., Joe Biden and his government, right? So we're not going to get stuck on staying in the crack of the behind of the Democratic Party in this conversation, because that's the chain that we're trying to break. So, Carrie, I hear you're a good person. Yeah, do a figure how to get in where you fit in. All right, I'm a little amped up now. And then this guy I'm arguing with is actually a friend of ours, right? But we like oil and water. Welcome to All Politics Are Local, right? I want to look at this conversation as part 2 of an ongoing discussion that we started with Penny Hess. So I'm going to start from reparations and walk backwards, right? Malcolm X told us about the importance of using the John Brown principle in dealing with white folks in our struggle, that white folks have a place if they're going to have one, and actually trying to do the work in their community around the question of racism, right? Penny Hess was way out in front of that question, as that's now beginning to emerge very softly around the question of reparations. For many, many years, the question of reparations has been held in the container of the Black community, particularly the Black nationalist left, for many, many years, until just recently. And we're seeing it now actually bubble up and blow up in local spaces like the state of California. Charles Barron, a Black socialist, led the charge in New York, even though he had to fight with some Black neoliberal Democrats who tried to water down the New York bill. It got done, but there is a growing sentiment, right, with some white folks who are willing to try and figure out how to be a part of an anti-racist conversation, who are coming out for reparations. And I want to let folks understand that. And back in the 1970s, Penny Hess had that responsibility within the Uhuru Movement and has done some very important work. So work that we're now seeing in other spaces. The organization that I work for, Equal Justice USA, is a multiracial organization, right? Formerly white-led, has just come out for reparations, right? So this work that has been very tight knit and close to our community for years is now starting to bear some fruit. These two young people are expressions and manifestations of that fruit. Jesse, I want to apologize to you, right, as an elder in this struggle, that you have to be subjected to the harassment of the state at this level, right? Which in the 21st century, if this country is anywhere halfway it should be in its facade of democracy, that shouldn't be happening, right? And our movement, the left, right? Our various radical traditions have struggled with building the kind of united fronts that we need to fight off the right wing. And that's something self-critically that we have to deal with to protect y'all, because y'all represent, the generation that we expect a whole lot from, and we need to be able to hold you and Akile up, right? So I just want to say that as an elder in struggle, appreciating what both of you have done, what both of you are doing, and what both of you should continue, and I know you are, to try to do, representing and honoring the moment and mission of our times, right? So y'all got that? Everybody got that? We good? Y'all were in your early 20s. And Jesse, let me listen. No. I know you're not now. I made that move several years ago. Both of you have fascinating stories. And Akile, I'm going to come to you first. Tell everybody when your birthday is, baby girl. Tell me when your birthday is.
Oh Lord. Well, since now I'm in my latter 20s.
I can't remember my latter 20s.
But I was born in 1996, and my first
what day?
October 22nd.
Now you know that day is important for some serious reasons. You know that, right?
Well, I certainly know of an important date, what it represents in particularly where I was born in St. Petersburg, Florida. It was an African rebellion that occurred.
I won't come to that, but there's also the birthday of Chairman Bobby Seale.
Oh yeah, I didn't know that. Didn't know.
Right? Yeah. So I mean, there's some stuff brewing with your generation that some of us are just feeling. All right. So now, and then you happen to come to us in the midst of the St. Petersburg uprising. Continue.
Yes, there was an uprising that occurred. Very bold and brilliant. Kind of like organizing guerrilla warfare of the African working class community here in St. Petersburg, Florida, after the murder of an 18-year-old African named Tyron Lewis by the St. Pete Police Department. And the rebellions actually were sparked as a consequence of the state in the form of the police, who used over 300 types of police forces from surrounding counties and used every ounce of tear gas that they had in the city to attack the Uhuru House, our office space, and as a part of an assassination attempt against Chairman Amalia Chatella and everyone in the building who was at that time involved in a community meeting to sum up for our community what the outcome of the verdict, a non-guilty verdict, was.
People's trial. That's right. That's right. I remember it very well. Come on.
Yeah. So during that meeting, which occurred on November 13th, so Tyron Lewis was shot October 24th. So I was still in the hospital. And my dad actually he left the hospital to drive the vans of people that would come to help out and put out fires and all of that kind of stuff. Because again, our building, they were attacking us. And again, trying to assassinate the chairman, leaders of our movement, and the forces who were participating in that meeting.
So we're clear. I want everybody to be very clear about what you're talking about. The Uhuru Movement had a people's trial. They had previously put the pictures of the offending officers all around the community. They're armed and extremely dangerous. The state laid out their bogus case. The people laid out their real case.
Yes.
Totally democratic, totally public, totally lawful. They face live fire. A lawful, peaceful assembly.
Yep.
Now, something else happened. How did that play out? Because I'm from Plainfield, New Jersey. I'm going to tell you why I get so amped up about this. Go on. Come on.
Well, you mean in 1996?
Yes, that's right. The same uprising.
Yeah. Yes. So the same uprising. So on, as I mentioned, on November 13th, we were having this meeting, and I think it's really important what you just said about, just the kind of work that we were doing in the community to really give it an explanation, to really, help the African community to understand our relationship to the police, because we have a general understanding of that. We know that the police exists as this terroristic type of force in our community, but to really be able to explain that and show that through this process, and to also hold such a trial, like what we did was a part of being able to show what state power in the hands of our community looks like. And so on November 13th, the police showed up to the building and told everyone they had like 5 minutes to vacate the building, and within 30 seconds they were firing pepper spray all into every single exit of the building. They were trying to set the building on fire, and they brought out police helicopters, a small plane. In this process, again, over 300 different military type forces descended on our community, but the community rose up, fought back.
Because there was an X factor, wasn't there? An X factor. Let me jump in and help you out.
Yeah, go ahead, because I don't want to miss it.
I do what's called community-based violence intervention work. You know, we rehab bangers and put them back in the street to make peace in our streets, right? To make it real plain,
Yes,
right?
those spaces.
But
Those spaces.
there's
Yes.
something about the boys in
Yes.
the hood when they
Yes.
got clarity,
Yes.
right? In
Yes.
that particular moment, they had clarity.
Exactly.
You might be in that building.
Exactly.
Uncle Fred
Yes.
might be in that building. My
Yes.
mom might be building. For once in their lives, all the shotties that they had, they weren't turning on each other. They protected their community and used that armed fire they had at their disposal and forced the police to retreat and probably have saved some lives. Now, I'm from Plainfield, New Jersey. Our rebellion in '67 had similar dynamics. We had a rifle factory on the West End. The field slaves in the overnight cleaned it out. And the only casualties in the Plainfield Rebellion were on the other side because our folks with their arms let everybody know that we were not going to be victims and just shot down in the street like dogs and those shots just go one way. No. So there's a place where our politics and our military traditions, and we do have military traditions on the left, right, can come together, right? This child was born in the midst of that.
Yeah, that was.
I had to lay out what they call the origin story because it's so loaded.
Mm-hmm.
It's so loaded, and you have clearly honored your moment. Now, listen, just some more background. I want y'all to talk about your campaigns and why you did that, and how you did that, and why that was important in a minute. This year marks the 60th anniversary of Malcolm's Ballad of the Bullet. Mm-hmm. Malcolm's revolutionary take on how to impact electoral politics in a revolutionary way, right? These two young folks, based on what they did, have been conducting class in the Black is Back electoral school in the last 7 years. I was just looking at you from last year, trying to find this year's just a few minutes ago, right? Totally thorough. Everything you're supposed to do in the run a campaign, but most importantly, to make sure you're doing your work on the ground, bringing up the politics of your community, and when the community embraces that, and they have access to you throughout to make sure that you don't sell them out, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So in your early 20s, what compelled y'all to do this? And Jesse, you don't even look like you come from a whole nother world, young man. What got you rolling with Black folks like this with all this radical stuff?
Well, if I
Go ahead.
I would start that by saying that we're not like weren't those candidates that woke up and just thought we were so great, that we just had to run for office. We actually are members of. I'm a member of the African People's Socialist Party, and Jesse is a member of the African People's Solidarity Committee and the chair of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement, which, as you were talking about, recapping the discussion with Chairwoman Penny Hess, this organization that works under the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party, founded and led by Chairman Omali Yeshitela, who developed this strategy to bring our struggle, the anti-colonial struggle, into the heart of the belly of the beast, the colonizer population itself, and not based on any subjective personal feelings about how white people may feel about Black people. The white people who love us, but based on a relationship based on historic responsibility of the colonizer to, work to overturn colonialism, to support the work of the African liberation struggle, namely through reparations to African people, because in the white community, that's where the resources of African people are hoarded. Right. And, so that this whole strategy that was developed to bring our struggle, because we, Chairman summed up long ago that white people are people too, and have the capacity to be, one to their own interests on the side of the struggle against colonialism. And just Jesse and Penny represent, the outcome of, that strategy. So we ran in St. Petersburg, Florida, which is a majority white city. It only has a 23% African population at the time, and it's gone down since then. So we recognized that we had to have a two-pronged strategy to, you know, take the campaign, which we ran on a platform of reparations. And that was the first time in this country that reparations was on a candidate platform that you could vote for, that you can vote to support. And it was at the time, which wasn't so long ago, but it feels like it in a lot of ways, because at the time it was considered lunatic fringe. They said you couldn't win support running a platform on reparations to African people. You just won't win that. And
Karen had been doing this since the time you were born, baby.
Well,
old Panther from Brooklyn.
Yeah, I mean, the question of reparations has certainly been
lost a connection. She was rolling.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, so there's some history there too that you're building on. Jesse, she says she's coming back in. Why don't you tell you? I know you had lost your connect Akile in midstream. Finish your thought, and then we'll bring Jesse into this.
Okay. Well, I want to recognize that reparations, not to say that reparations hasn't been a struggle that's been ongoing for decades, and hasn't been introduced into different arenas. And of course, the party has a very significant history with the question of reparations, having conducted the 1982 World Tribunal on Reparations to African People in 1982. But it
Brooklyn.
was in Brooklyn, New York. And but this was, prior to that, you had, these presidential candidates, they would denounce the question of reparations every time that it would come up. But we ran, explicitly on a platform of reparations to African people. And so it was important to run Comrade Jesse in for mayor to with the majority white city, to bring this question of reparations, to win unity from the white population. And of course, running inside the African community to win this and to build a people's movement, because for us it was never about. I mean, we ran an election to win, but in terms of what winning meant, it meant to build this movement in support of these demands. Build a movement in support of reparations to African people.
Build first. That's right. That's right.
Yeah, so that was the primary objective, and we did that. It was a campaign that Barack Hussein Obama had to come in and intervene, and he actually endorsed a mayoral candidate, our opponent. They had to bring out the big guns because of how powerful this campaign had been, and we had made, national, coverage and things like that. Because again, this was like you can't do this, and but we won so much, in this process. And then just a couple years later, we saw these dancing puppets entertaining reparations, presidential candidates, entertaining this question. So just in terms of, that, I mean, I'm trying to summarize all of that and allow.
You did good. You're doing good. You're doing good, darling. You're doing good. We had more time, and you would do even better, right? Jesse, what got you caught up in all this cauldron of controversy?
Well, first of all, I just want to thank you, Comrade Zaid, for having us on. I appreciated the interview that you did with Chairwoman Penny Hess, and just also want to salute the director of the African People's Socialist Party's Media and Communications Department, Director Akile and I. It's an honor to be on this program with her, and with you and with everybody who's tuning in. And I mean, as has been mentioned, I have the honor of being a member of the African People's Solidarity Committee and our mass organization, Uhuru Solidarity Movement. And about 14 or 15 years ago, I was a student in St. Petersburg, Florida, and I met Penny Hess, and then I met Chairman Omali Yeshitela. I saw the chairman speak at the University of South Florida, where his books were actually being acquired into the Special Collections Archive of the library there. And there was a special event that was held to honor Chairman Omali Yeshitela's life's work to fight for the liberation of African people. I had some kind of vague awareness that there was a contradiction in this country with regards to the question of the oppression of African people, but I had no analysis of it. I had no ability to understand it. I did not know what was the correct role for me as a white person to have in fighting to overturn it and being working in solidarity with the African community. And Chairman Omali Yeshitela and the whole political philosophy of African internationalism answered all of those questions. And it made perfect sense and resonated deeply with me, as it has with many, many white people. The Uhuru Solidarity Movement now exists in over 130 cities in the US and in other parts of the world.
130 cities.
Yes, yes. So I just have to salute the leadership of Chairman Omali Yeshitela and the understanding that he has brought to the world. You know, I grew up learning about the Black Power movement of the 1960s, seeing photos and documentaries. And, you know, Chairman Omali Yeshitela explained that era did not go out of style. It was crushed. It was militarily assaulted and crushed by the US government, the FBI, COINTELPRO, and every other program of counterinsurgency. And the African People's Socialist Party was created to complete the Black Revolution of the 1960s and solve all of the problems that had been left unresolved after the military defeat of the revolution in the 60s. And one of the
let me add something to help.
Yes,
Chairman Omali, because I remember those days. You know, back in '82, I didn't get a chance to go to the reparations convention, but we were all very much aware of it, all very supportive of it. One thing that Chairman Omali did that was very important was the honesty of his analysis. Yes. You know, when you fight and win and you know you're right, even when you lose, it's hard to admit that. Right? I'm an ex-fighter, for example. When Joe Frazier and Muhammad Ali fought for the first time, Ed filmed me, right? Joe got the decision. Muhammad could not. Took Muhammad Ali years to come to terms with that, right? Because it just that we fight to win, and we can't accept losing. So a lot of our comrades, even from the hellholes of prisons, visiting comrades in the ground, all that, had trouble, facing the fact that we took some L. We took a big L with COINTELPRO, right? Omali was one of the first to acknowledge that. Right. And to lay out the importance of regrouping in spite of that. Those of us who survived had a responsibility. Right. Right. And he created a vehicle that gave us an example of what that actually can look like. He is an important bridge from those COINTELPRO battles to a whole new generation now who are rightfully shaking this country up around the genocide in Gaza, who shook the country up a couple of summers ago around George Floyd, and we need organized elements with that long vision and that clarity of analysis and that ideological development to move them to organization beyond mobilization. That is important, and I think what y'all are doing are a part of that wave that's so very important. So I just wanted to jump in and let folks how we need to bring these things together. Now, keep talking about your walk. I'm going to bring you back to your walk.
Well, I'll just say one more thing about that. One of the many really important political problems that Chairman Omali Yeshitela had to solve in the aftermath of COINTELPRO, the counterinsurgency of the 1960s, in rebuilding the Black Revolution, was the question of white people, the question of what is the correct stance, where is the place, if any, for white people to have. And this had been a serious contradiction which had plagued the African liberation movement historically. And this is all history that I came to understand through studying the works and leadership of Chairman Omali Yeshitela, that you had what's referred to as the white left, this opportunist sector of the white population that, in the name of quote unquote socialism or the interests of workers in general, et cetera, will actually contend with the struggle for the liberation of African people and attempt to impose a white agenda onto the struggle of African people for national liberation, and to misdirect it or undermine it or to really
control it.
Yeah, to destroy it. And this had been the history of white people, our opportunism, stemming from the fact that we sit on the pedestal of the oppression of African people. Everything we have access to, all the resources, all the wealth, even the ideas and knowledge that we have access to are here for us as a consequence of what the chairman calls the colonial mode of production, that was built on slavery, built on genocide, built on slaughter and pillage that white people carried out and were complicit with against African people, indigenous peoples, and the majority of the human beings on the planet Earth. And it only makes sense that if we are to have a principled relationship, we have to be under the leadership of the African working class, the real workers of the world who are leading the struggle for socialism. Capitalism rests upon the foundation of colonialism. So in order for there to be genuine socialism, the African Revolution is the leadership of it. The African working class will lead that struggle. And like the chairman famously said decades ago, the real road to socialism is painted black. And so white people who are really socialists, who truly believe in socialism, the place for us to be is under the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party, organizing in our own white communities to win other white people to stand for Black power, to stand for reparations to African people, and to actually pay reparations by turning over resources as not as charity, but as material solidarity with the African Revolution, with African self-determination.
I don't know if you just saw the shout out that y'all just got from Josie Gonzalez, and Josie's is a good comrade with good politics. And then thank you, Josie. We got to get you on too. We've been talking about this. We got to figure that out. There was an encampment recently at Rutgers, Newark, in solidarity with the Palestinian, and apparently some things got undisciplined and got a little messy. I don't know all the details, but it did not reflect the kind of maturity and discipline that we're talking about here, right? And I think she wanted to acknowledge that and lift that up, because in the phenomena of organizing, there's always a phenomenon of uneven development, right? And there's always this task of bringing folks up who are not, where they should be, especially when you're in the streets. So yeah, you got some love from another veteran in struggle. So in the interest of time, because I want to get into Lisa's segment, and y'all welcome to stay for Lisa's segment too, because we all roll together, right? Let's talk about what we need to get ready for the September trial. First, let everybody know what you're actually facing, because some folks still can't believe it.
Yeah.
Can't believe that this is happening, right? But they should, right? Omali Yeshiteli is old enough to be my father, and I'm in my 60s, and he's facing 15. Yeah, it is absolutely insane. But it has a history. They did the same thing to W.E.B. Du Bois back in the 1950s. Is one reason why he got the hell out of here and went on to Africa, right? So let's talk about just what y'all actually facing, the organizing strategies that we need to build the kind of support that we need to build up for you.
Very well. I just really want to appreciate your time, Comrade Zaid, and everyone a part of this show. I also really want to appreciate Comrade Jesse and Sister Lisa Davis, who helped to hook all this up, and does really important work with the Hands Off Uhuru campaign as well. As just a staunch supporter, but also just contributor to this process.
Sister Black is back.
Mm-hmm. Yes, right on. And so, just want to kind of, as an overview, on July 29th of 2022, the African People's Socialist Party, the Uhuru Movement, was raided by the FBI, violent military-style pre-dawn raid in two cities happening simultaneously in St. Louis, Missouri, and in St. Petersburg, Florida, and they firebombed the chairman's, they sent flashbang grenades, into the chairman's home. They firebombed the chairman's home in the 80s, but they used flashbang grenades approached the chairman with assault rifles, and handcuffed and zip tied him and his wife and the deputy chair, Ona Zanea Shatella, and also had Jesse, Penny, and other forces of our movement in the Solidarity Movement held at gunpoint. And in St. Petersburg, Florida, they came to my home. They used the local police department to lure me out of my home, and ended up raiding. They stole phones, laptops, all different types of communication devices, files, archives, everything. And then 9 months later, came down with this bogus indictment on essentially charging Chairman Amalia Shatella, Penny Hess, and Jesse Nevel, who were previously listed as unindicted co-conspirators, and had officially indicted them as conspirators in some kind of Russian some Russian malign influence scheme. Russian agents is what, they are accusing these comrades of. And the basis for the evidence, so-called evidence that they use, in part, are the elections that we ran. We ran for office, and they said, "We'll see that this is proof that they're Russian agents." And this is a very insulting type of charges being made against us, because it assumes that Africans are, as a people, don't have our own agency and don't have the history that you mentioned, Comrade Zaid, of these types of assaults being made on Black people struggling to be free. This is not the first time that they've ever, initiated bogus, trumped up charges against African people who were struggling in the interest of Black freedom and democratic rights and things like that for African people. It's not a new phenomenon that this government would do this. And so Joe Biden's FBI, his regime initiated this, and the U.S. government is now attempting to, take this to trial. And, we're fighting them. We're putting them on trial, right? We're putting them on trial right now as we build this movement, not just in defense of the Uhuru 3. That's really important because we say no more political prisoners, but to build a movement in support of anti-colonial free speech, and that African and colonized people have to be protected and have the right to organize in our own interests. And, so to build this type of movement that spans, different types of political forces in unity with the struggle against colonialism is what we set out to do. They wanted to, in part, drive us underground, and they wanted people to be afraid to touch the Uhuru movement because the FBI comes after those guys. But it was the total opposite of what they anticipated to happen. We've just grown as a consequence, just really exploded, and the movement is just alive. And now we're preparing to go to trial. September 3rd in Tampa, Florida is the start date of the trial that they've given us. And, we're fighting even that the charges be dropped before, a trial even happens, because as our lawyers have pointed out, that going to trial in and of itself legitimizes the charges against us. And it already assaults the First Amendment right to free speech. By just taking this to trial is already, making that assault on free speech without a conviction. So, we're telling people to join in this struggle, to support this campaign, to donate to the legal expenses. Go to handsoffahuru.org, and you can find all that information, and also to sign up for the trial, handsoffahuru.org/trial, and sign up and come and let us know that you're coming, and bring your people. We want 1,000 people outside that courthouse at minimum to demand the charges be dropped on the Uhuru 3, September 3rd, 2024. So just in a couple of months, and we're engaged in the long, hot summer. So we're bringing that back, from the period of the 1960s to now. We're going to be engaged in a long, hot summer, scorched earth campaign to bring this everywhere, and to bring all of you, with us, and to be a part of this, because it affects, everyone, certainly inside this country, and in terms of the future of organizing the democratic space that we fought and died for. All of that stuff is on the line, and we refuse, as the chairman says, not one step backwards. We're not going back.
Right. Yes.
So
Jesse, let's look at the charges that you're actually facing. Tell everybody the charges that you're actually facing.
Okay, thank you. And that was a great overview on.
She's running it. That's right.
Thank you, Director Akile. So the charges are absolutely absurd, as was just stated. The U.S. government on April 18th of last year, they came out with a federal grand jury indictment of Chairman Omalia Shatella, Chairwoman Penny Hess, and myself. And we are clear that the chairman is the primary target of this attack. They are trying to put Chairman Omalia Shatella behind bars for the rest of his life because of his leadership. They have not been able to completely crush the struggle of African people for freedom. That's what they're trying to do. And the attack on Chairwoman Penny and myself is part of the attack on the chairman, the party, the strategy of going behind enemy lines to win white solidarity with Black power. So what they're charging us with is 2 felony counts of 2 different federal criminal statutes. One of them is that we have functioned as illegal foreign agents of the Russian government without notifying the Attorney General's office. And that charge carries a maximum sentence of 10 years in federal prison. They've also charged us with one count of conspiracy to commit an offense against or defraud the United States government. And what is the conspiracy? Some people have asked. What is the goal of this alleged Russian criminal conspiracy involving the Uhuru Movement that the U.S. government has concocted in this bizarre and absurd narrative? The point of the conspiracy, according to them, is to sow discord in the United States. And the chairman has addressed that many times, that do we really need Russia to step in and create the conditions for discord in the United States? Russia, as the chairman says, was not present when Mike Brown was killed. Russia was not there in Minneapolis when George Floyd was killed. Russia wasn't there when Breonna Taylor was killed. And as the chairman has said, it wasn't Russia that brought him into revolutionary life. It was America. It was the conditions of oppression and exploitation faced by African people under this government, under this country, under this colonial mode of production. So the idea that Chairman Omali Yeshitela, he's 82 years old, has been fighting for Black freedom, for the liberation of all oppressed peoples around the world since he was in his 20s. And they want to say that in the year 2014, when he was 72 years old, he suddenly became an employee of the Russian government in a conspiracy to sow discord. It's absolutely insulting and even racist to suggest that African people, the chairman, any African person in this country would need to be educated by a Russian or by anyone else to know that they are facing oppression and that they have a right to struggle and fight for their liberation. So these are the charges. Every single so-called overt act, which is what they call it when they charge you with a conspiracy, they show all these so-called overt acts that you are alleged to have carried out in furtherance of that conspiracy. Every single one, 100% of the overt acts are examples of pure political speech. Like Akile said, our campaigns for political office are listed as overt acts. Publishing articles in the Burning Spear newspaper, holding events, doing interviews.
Burning Spear newspaper since I was in college, and I'm
That's right.
More than old enough to be your father, son.
Exactly. Before this guy in Russia that they claim is the puppeteer behind the Uhuru Movement was probably even born. The Burning Spear newspaper has been in the hands of the people. So it's completely ridiculous, but it's very serious. And it's a very profound assault that the US government is attempting to make on free speech, on freedom of speech. They're not accusing us of engaging in any kind of financial crimes, extortion, bribery, corruption. They're not accusing us of blowing up.
They do.
Yeah, exactly. They're just saying.
I'm in Jersey. This is the Soprano state, baby. They're horrible with that is.
They're not even accusing us of lying. And that's one of the things, because they said in the indictment that the Uhuru Movement was spreading disinformation and propaganda. So our attorneys shot back at that and said, well, how can you say it's disinformation? Nothing they said was untrue. They said the United States was funding Ukraine and arming Ukraine to provoke Russia into some kind of military engagement. That's true. They said Russia expanded 800 miles to the border. NATO expanded 800 miles to the border of Russia. That's true. There are tenured professors at universities who say the same thing. How can you say it's disinformation? The US government said, well, when we said it was disinformation, we didn't mean it wasn't true. Disinformation can include the truth if that truth makes the United States look bad and somehow serves the agenda of Russia, as they say.
Speak is a tool of fascism, whether it's coming from a jive Democrat or a jive Republican.
Yeah. That's colonialism.
I'm sorry y'all going through this. Let me just give you some words of advice. And I think I've shared this with Lisa and some of the comrades when I was in St. Louis for the electoral school, right? And I've done most of the last 35 years or so, a lot of work around our political prisons here in this country, right? And courtroom presence is very important. Mm-hmm. The thing I want to suggest is that it's important to have that big show of force at the beginning, but we need to figure out how to structure and organize presence throughout the trial. so we can sustain a presence, right? And even then, they're still going to be what they're going to be, right? We just had Melina Abdullah on a couple of weeks ago. She was in the midst of her trial in a civil suit against the LA police that swatted her 3 times just within the last several years. And this particular trial was when around her being swatted the first time. The black neoliberal judge packed the courtroom as much as he could with the police, right? But the community was there. The police had to contend with the community presence inside and outside the courtroom. And even though they ruled against them, the community was very clear. Ground was continued to be built. The wrongness of what they did was fully exposed. And if it wasn't so dangerous for our sister and her children, it would be laughable because it was such a fraud, right? So the whole question of what it means to put the government on trial, 100%.
Yeah.
Right. Thing is to sustain presence, right? So we can definitely turn that support into mobilization and organization coming out of that damn trial when we get y'all vindicated.
That's right. And if I could say one quick thing on that, Comrade Zaid, I really appreciate what you're saying. I agree. Everybody's got to be there for the trial in September. And there will be a massive march and rally in St. Petersburg on August 31st. We want everybody to be there saying, hands off Chairman Omali Yeshitela, drop the
goddamn charges.
They cannot get away with this. And, I say to other white people that, you hear this thing sometimes, like if you had been there during the era of civil rights or Jim Crow, what would you have done? You're doing it right now. We're in that era. This is that era. And we can't just sit by while the US government tries to put another African revolutionary behind bars, the leader of the African revolution. That is not going to happen. We have to stand up. We have to unite with the African liberation movement and say, not this time around, not one step backwards, hands off Chairman Omali Yeshitela.
Right on. All right. Appreciate you both. Like I said, y'all welcome to stay on. We need to pivot now because you got a comrade who's facing some heat. Thankfully, it's not as hot as the heat that y'all facing, but it's bullshit just the same. But you got to.
Exactly. And also, I just want to give a shout out first to our comrade Carrie Gordon. She has been one of the main organizers in terms of what's going on locally in South Orange, New Jersey, the suburbs.
Carrie, tell everybody about Soma. Tell the long story of Soma, and then Soma, the collective in support of the Palestinian question.
Yeah, South Orange, Maplewood, New Jersey, the suburbs. I started Soma for Palestine with a group in 2017. There was organizations going town to town trying to pass anti-BDS resolutions, and we successfully stopped it from happening. And so we've had teach-ins and cultural events since then. And then in November of 2023, a group hosted a vigil, a very inclusive vigil, and it was met with very horrific counter-protesting from Zionists. And we decided that we couldn't let them feel like they've won or intimidate us. And so we started Ceasefire Sundays to keep Palestine in the forefront and because in the suburbs, people just want to go on with their lives. They want to go shopping. They want to go to the baseball games. They don't want to confront what's happening. We live in a bubble. New Jersey is an apartheid state. And so we wanted to keep Palestine going and to keep people aware of the genocide happening in Gaza. So every Sunday since December, we've had rallies in South Orange and Maplewood. And often we're met with counter-protesters. And in South Orange, well, both towns have wanted us not to be there. So they've tried to use the permit process and other ways to get us to go away. And so we haven't. And in March, we hosted a rally and it was fine. And at the very end, we were gathered, and a Zionist got out of his car and started yelling at us. He approached two women in hijabs saying, "Who's your leader?" And then he approached Lisa Davis and started yelling at her, in her face. And we had to get in between and move him away. And we weren't sure what, where he was going with this. And the police were called, and we gave a report. And Lisa can go from there.
Hold on a second, because details matter. I want folks to appreciate this picture that you painted, right?
Yeah.
Who called the police?
Well,
it's all right.
One of the marshals called the police. We usually have marshals, and we didn't have as many, and we weren't prepared to, and we weren't sure where this guy was going with. If he was going to be violent. He seemed very deranged, and so someone called the police.
And so, what was the police response?
They brought an ambulance for the gentleman and moved him away and started talking to him.
Right, but
as if he was the victim.
But what happened, because he was acting so unhinged.
I'm trying to get at something, Lisa. Hold on a second. I'm trying to get at something that I want the folks, our suburban listeners to appreciate, right? Contradiction. Police are always at the edge of the contradiction. Right? I want folks to see that real clearly. So much popped up in my radar around the police accountability work that I do in Newark, and particularly when we created our statewide coalition. Some name has been popping up as an organization that's been very supportive of those kind of efforts, and I wanted to bring out this kind, because it sets up what happened to Lisa. When and the police are supposed to protect everybody. But everybody can't call the police.
Nope.
So our friends and allies and partners in the suburbs, in the midst of lawful solidarity, they couldn't even call the police and be treated properly. Folks need to deal with that. I mean, that needs to be amplified, and that sets up, how you were targeted. And let's bring it to where it impacts on Lisa directly.
Right. But I just want to say he was acting very unhinged, and he ran up, because we were at South Orange Avenue. He runs out into South Orange Avenue, and it's at that point when the police come. In fact, even when he parked his car, it was about a couple of inches away from the sidewalk and everything. But the police are acting like, they're somewhat concerned. I remember one of them asked me if he hit me, and I said no. And I was never comfortable talking with the police. But like I said, I understand, meaning comrades who are not used to this stuff. They were trying to do what was right, what should have been the right thing to do. But of course, it's the police, and we can never trust them. And so anyway, so they asked me if I wanted to. One asked me if I wanted to file a complaint. I didn't even answer him, because I'm not comfortable talking with him. And then I was live streaming everything. I wanted to let it be known, and other people were saying this too, that things were recorded, things were videotaped. And one of the reasons for that is because of what Carrie says in terms of how people respond to counter protesters. They treated the students in West Orange horribly, lied on them, said they were calling for the assassination of Jewish people and everything. So I wanted to clearly establish that we had everything recorded. And so I said, and I'm live streaming this. I told them that.
I'm sorry, Lisa, who were lying on the students? You said the police were lying on the students?
No, the people, the Zionists.
The people, okay, gotcha.
Yes. I just wanted to thank you for getting that clarity. And so anyway, so Natural says to me, however he pronounces his name, it's spelled Naturale. He says to me, "Oh, would you send me that? Could you send me the video? Could you email it to me? I'll give you my email address." I said, "Sure." Emailed it to him, my live stream video from Facebook. And then we leave. It looks like the ambulance was talking to the unhinged Zionists. And so I go home, and about 3 days later, I get these two summonses in the mail, complaints in the mail. And the complaints are made by Natural, and saying that I organized a special event without a permit, and that I was making loud, continuous noises with an amplification device. None of that is true. In fact, I don't even, most of the time, like I never lead the protest. I'm there to support. And one of the things that was very important to me is that the Palestinian voices were heard in the Palestinian politics. Because if it was going to be if it was going to be the kind of thing where their voices were going to be cut off and it sounded like people were going to try to control the narrative and everything, I would not have continued. But I wanted to continue because I thought it was so important to support these suburbs. I live in the suburbs. And that was very important. But because it was definitely led or the Palestinian voices were heard, and many times they would lead the chant. And even when they weren't leading the chants would still be representative of, free Palestine, in the genocide, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. And so I wanted to continue with that, but they're putting it on the Officer Natural completely falsified everything. I mean, how does he even come away with that? I'm the one who organized the event. And the thing about it that the municipal prosecutor is going to bring this forward. I thought prosecutors had some discretion in terms of whether they were going to move forward with the case or not. Just because the police tells them something doesn't mean that they're going to automatically act on it. But you have something where they just take anything, and they go with it. They're charging me. I don't believe he's been charged with anything because we haven't received the police report yet. We're trying to get discovery, but I don't believe he's been charged with anything because I think if he were to be charged with something, that they would be seeking to get in touch with us because he's the one who took these actions against us. But the very fact, no matter what, that they would charge me with anything, and this really goes to show what is most disturbing to me about this is how many Black people have gone through South Orange or Maplewood, because we know that this happened in South Orange, but it's indicative of this whole area. There's West Orange, even Orange, East Orange. How many times has that happened? And you have a situation where maybe there are no witnesses. Maybe there's no videotape. And many times...
You sent me 2 videos. I apologize. I don't have the means to show them right now.
Oh, that's okay.
Share them out.
They will be seen. But how many times there are many times when people don't have videos. And what is really important and distressing about this case, because I don't think that this is documented in the way that it should be, and also because it's often hard to document. But when the person is Black, and when there has been an act of aggression against them, or especially if the perpetrator is white, officers have control to wipe things away for the perpetrator against Black people. There have been so many cases where that has happened. This is not my first rodeo with this issue, trust me. Mm-hmm. I've had many issues. But one of the things in 1997, when I was working in New York, right outside of the First World Trade Center, and I was crossing the street, and thank goodness this minivan had been stopped, so it didn't hit me hard, but it did hit me. It was a white man who hit me. He gets out the car, goes, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. White officers show up on the scene." And when I was in the ambulance and looked at, they acted like they were so concerned, and they're like, "Oh, get into the ambulance and get looked at." I did. And when everybody took off, they let the driver of the van took off, and they completely erased the accident for the white guy. They did not record that an accident had happened. They recorded this as I was just walking down the street and I tripped. And so how many times has this happened? And Brother Zaid, you had often talked about the Force report, because I was looking into that. And the Force report basically says that, New Jersey is the state that gave us racial profiling. This was over 20 years ago in 1998, when those 4 young men, Black and brown young men, were going to a basketball game, a college basketball game, and they were shot repeatedly by state troopers going to a basketball game on the highway. And so New Jersey was supposed to be doing all these kind of reforms. I mean, there were so many other horrible cases as well of police brutality, and primarily Black and brown people being targeted. And so they were supposed to be going through all this change and everything. But the Force report basically said that nothing had changed. from the time that they were looking at things. And South Orange, they say that in South Orange, a black person, I mean, the statistics, the numbers are so outrageously high, but I think it says something like a black person is over 844% more likely to encounter a police force than white people. Maplewood is about 343% more likely. West Orange is 140 something percent more
These are very
likely.
local suburbs, by the way, very blue.
Oh yeah, very. We're talking Democratic. We're talking Democratic territory. We're talking about the deep north. That's what we're talking about. The north. Democratic territory.
Let me get Carrie to jump in this.
Yeah.
Now, it's your hood, Carrie. How did this impact you, not just personally, because we see what you're doing in terms of Soma, right? But how is this conversation merging in the ranks of your community?
So yeah, we are a liberal town, super blue town in a blue state, and we tried to get a ceasefire resolution passed in both Maplewood and South Orange, and the politicians wouldn't touch it. There was one town council member in Maplewood, Jermaine Kripe, who wore a keffiyeh, and said she felt terrible about what's happening in Gaza. They ran a candidate against her and ousted her from office. That's what it's like in our community.
Yeah. Let's see what we're talking about it, and see this controversy is sharpening from every contradiction that we need to appreciate. One is that one of the biggest players in elections, in American elections, are very affluent lobbies, right? One of the most powerful and affluent lobbies in American elections is AIPAC, the Zionist lobby, and they take people out in the very way that you just talked about, right? Some of which kind of appreciate from several times. I got there, right? But also, wait, hold on a second, Donna, right? But also, there is the Palestinian Solidarity Movement has been bubbling for years, and now it is fully blown. It is Palestinian. It is Middle Eastern. It is black. It is brown. It is white, and the white is almost half Jewish. So there is a divide even in the Jewish community on a mass level that's blowing people's minds, right? So I want folks to appreciate those contradictions. So even though the power in terms of resources continues to lay with the government and the Zionist lobby, right, there is the X factor of people power that continues to emerge and continues to build. And we need to appreciate that. Donna, go ahead. You were going to say something.
No, as I joined in and I was listening to Carrie, and while I'm not trying to make light of the situation, I may be making light. When you said you referred to, they was like, take me to your leader, and that just sounded so. And I had a flashback. I love art, so I had a flashback of the Superman 2 movie when they came down. It was like, take us to your leader. Like that just seems so. That was like a crazy statement just to hear them to say something like that. And then I think of South Orange, Maplewood, home of that this community has gotten together and remembers Woodstock every year, and like the community, like that community, it's just I guess we say the oxymoron is like, ugh. It's just
Our community, yeah, and Woodstock, for folks not old enough to remember, the summer '69 was ablaze with the love principle that produced one of the most historic rock concerts of all time. That was also at the heart of a national peace movement against the war in Vietnam. That was Woodstock. So I just want to give some more background on what you just lifted up, Don. It's interesting that you shared that. Right. Okay. So now, as we wind up, because I got your former chairman coming on right behind you, Lisa. Right. You are in court on Tuesday. How's that? And you do have representation, right?
Yes, it's a virtual hearing. And we are demanding, people are demanding that the charges be dropped. There should be an investigation into what happened. We are demanding that. Also, the Black is Back Coalition is calling for him to be fired. I mean, it's obvious what he did. And, just falsifying evidence and manipulating reports, that can no longer be tolerated. But even more importantly than that, because even if they drop the charges or when they do, this situation is still there. This just is it uncovered it. There's a much deeper problem, and it's all throughout New Jersey. But most importantly, this has really got to be a clarion call to the Black community, and certainly anybody who wants to do what is right. But we have to look at things through a different lens. There is no system out there that is designed to support Black people. That's one of the reasons why I'm in this movement the way that I am. And I certainly want to say that we need to be the Black liberation struggle. The Black liberation struggle is what we owe everything to, not to the Democrats or the Republicans. And I had a lot. There was so much I was wanting to say with that previous conversation that happened before Brother Billy came. I was sitting on my hands. Jabari Bridge part has spoken out against what it's doing, what's happening.
Yeah, I know Jabari Bridge part. I'm proud of that young man.
Right.
And
he spoke out against
he lives in his community.
Right. Jamal Bowman and them others on the Democratic Party. They have not.
Yes, right. We're gonna try and get them on too.
Right. But anyway, oh gosh, I lost my train of thought. I'm so exhausted. But people got to get involved. They have to get involved. We have always been our own liberators, and we have to really move like that. And certainly, and I've worked a long time with the People's Organization for Progress. I have. And I'm also with the Black is Back Coalition. Join. And certainly the Black is Back Coalition. We are
the Black is Back Coalition. You in the driver's seat.
The Black is Back Coalition, Social Justice, Peace, and Reparations is the full name. But that's what's going to determine everything. That's what's going to really determine it. We don't have this.
That's right. That's right.
We don't.
Let's bring two things together. The points of the two segments that we just had, yours and our two young folks who ran for office, Akile and Jesse. Right, when they first came under attack, a lot of us right away rallied in that.
Yes, you did.
Right, and we do agree with the analysis that it is a very, very intentional attack at the whole question of free speech. Right, and as Gaza blows up, and the police are being used to weaponize that conversation that's blowing up on campuses and in communities around the country. As the face of this multiracial Palestinian Solidarity Movement, the Y factor on the state side, of course, is the police. So the threat to the First Amendment is very clear in both streams. And finally, we should understand also that right now, the Zionist lobby through the state legislature is trying to push a bill that criminalizes criticism of Israel as being anti-Semitic, when it's not. Folks are not anti-Jewish. In fact, half of the Jewish community is up in arms about this.
Exactly.
People, right? We're criticizing the state, a state that is engaging in state power, abusing state power, not just violating human rights, but literally engaged in genocide in all of our faces, and we're not going to accept that national and that political gaslighting that only the colonial states with their monster media so uniquely do. We ain't going for it.
And also, let me just make this connection. Omali Yeshitela is the chair of the Black is Back Coalition for Social Justice, Peace, and Reparations. So they're targeting him. And I just think that I was a package deal for them. I'm Black, so they would have done that anyway. That's what every experience in my life has told me about. In 1991, I had a horrible experience with police brutality. And it's so nice to see that 30-something years later, that nothing has changed. But so he happens to be the chair.
That's why we ain't just fighting for justice.
Exactly. And so I'm Black, this is Palestine, they don't like that. And then also the chair of the organization I'm with, the Omali Yeshitela, is facing 10 to 15 years in prison.
And in the 30 years, if the change that there has been is that time is rolling backwards instead of us moving forward.
Well, you got that right. And again, Democrat, Republican, it's horrible. It's horrible. It's horrible.
Coming both ways if we're not careful. Each of you can share your remaining thoughts. We did not. We got so caught up in the intensity of our last conversation. We didn't ask our guests what we call our ritual question. So Akile and missed that.
And I
I'll get
will.
on that.
So Carrie and Lisa,
but before you let them get their last thoughts, Donna. And then,
that's what I was going to say.
Okay, all right.
That's what I was going to say. So Carrie and Lisa, as you have the last words, and ladies, you can choose to see who goes first. Please tell us your last thoughts. And in closing, this is a hip hop radio show, so we would like to know what hip hop artist, individual or group, when you're out here doing the work that you're doing, do you go to for inspiration?
Well, I will just say that this is about more than me. We have work to do after these charges are dropped. This is a sign of a much bigger problem. With the ease in which they wrote up this false report, that tells me that represents the climate, the culture as we know. And we have to organize. Black people. We need to come together. You got to be involved in organization, because you want to know when you walk out on them streets. And this is one of the reasons why I move the way that I do. You want them to know that if anybody messes with you, you got power behind you. And of course, we want to be that way to everybody, but still, when you are actively involved, that's one of the things that happens. How much time can you give each month, each week? I know many are busy, to the Black liberation struggle. And I would highly recommend the Black is Back Coalition for social justice, peace, and reparations. And my favorite hip hop artist is Lauryn Hill. I was prepared for that. So that's like learning. And of course, Marvin Gaye and all the ones who do all the work, who give so much great music.
And I'm sorry, Carrie. Lisa, as you do the work, and you might want to reach out to Lauren, because South Orange is her hometown.
That's right.
Don't forget that.
South Orange. That's the best.
Anybody got any contacts?
Go ahead, Carrie.
Soma for Palestine is part of a group called Soma Collective for Palestine. We're a coalition of people, just concerned citizens, who come out every Sunday. We'll be in South Orange this Sunday at 3 p.m. to about 4:30. We're meeting in front of the South Orange Town Hall on the corner of Valley and South Orange Avenue, if you want to join us. Because of the way South Orange works, we'll be moving, we'll be picketing, and we'll be walking, because we're not allowed to gather in one spot as a group. And my favorite, what I've been listening to for inspiration is Shadia Mansour and Loki, and I also like The Hallucination lately too.
All right. Okay. I ain't heard of the hallucination. The Saudi Mensa, I've heard of. Yeah. All right. Okay. All right.
Harry, are you speaking of on the PNC side, or on the historical by the village where the restaurant is? Where will you be? On the bank where the bank is, or?
It is across the street from that clock tower that everyone knows in South Orange.
Okay.
You'll see the Palestinian flags. If you're coming, try to arrive on time. And then the following week, we'll be talking about Lisa's case, and also but we'll continue on the following week as well. If you can't make it this weekend, we'll have more next weekend.
And so much work is going. There's a group also in Livingston, Mickey Sherrill, putting pressure on her. So stuff is happening in these suburbs. West Orange as well. West Orange students were the ones who rose up. One of the first group in these suburbs. One of the first group of young students, I believe, throughout the country.
That's a very Jewish town too, by the way. Very Jewish.
And they were met with so much hatred from these, Zionists, and they truly were.
I want to shout out an elder veteran who's been amazingly present, in spite of the fact that we ain't kids no more, by a long shot. And that's Tova Fry, who lives in West Orange.
Oh, yes,
Been
yes.
intimately involved in trying to lift up solidarity on so many fronts. You know, so on behalf of the old heads to the young heads, you know, right on. We appreciate you.
Yes.
From the
And God,
wise heads, not the old heads, the wise heads.
they don't call us wise heads. You're right. We like to support Donna, but they
And also
the old heads.
the attorney who's representing this case is Joe Fortunato. He's been doing a lot of, work in terms of Palestine and all that stuff. So
You
just
know, once upon a time, was a member of the People Organization Progress. Once upon a time. All right, y'all. All
we
right.
got work to do.
Well,
Have a
thank
good
you.
we're
Thank
looking at
you.
our state meeting on Monday. I understand it's going to be touch short, but and I'll send y'all information, right?
Be safe out there.
That's right. You know, everybody sign the petition. It's out there. I've been pushing it out. We'll push it out on this platform and others. You know, we're not at that goal. I saw the number on the goal. We're not there yet. We need to get there soon. Let's pump it up and let's cover down on our system. All right.
Uhuru.
Uhuru, right on. No problem.
And drop the charges against the Uhuru 3 and me.
That's right. Have all those goddamn charges.
And also, there are several others too. We'll talk about it at another time within the Black is Back coalition that they're coming after on bogus, ridiculous things.
By the way, today is the birth anniversary. Somebody made mockery of Che Guevara. Today is his birth anniversary.
Oh,
yesterday was the anniversary of the assassination of Walter Rodney. Too bad, socialists. Ain't nobody apologizing for. Right? So those of us who walk that walk, walk tall or don't walk at all. All right, y'all. Good stuff.
Thank you so much.
Where's the demon? Did demon get on? You're listening to All Politics of Local America's number one. I'll have hip hop talking radio show. We should be having the great Lawrence Hamm come on.
Let me check in on it.
He probably forgot or running later with something else because he don't know how to manage his calendar. He looks at his calendar after he says yes to everything. He got a real situation tomorrow. We hope he can figure out. But that's the kind of love he's got for the people. We're proud of our brother. That's how he gets mixed up like that sometimes. But while we're waiting for him, let's just prep the space as to what he was going to talk about. Next, let's see, the 19th is Wednesday. The 19th is Juneteenth, the emerging Black Freedom Day that marks the epic anniversary of the last vestiges of the slave trade in the South to end slavery. And this was even after the close of the Civil War, right? June 19th, 1865 was 2 months after Lee surrendered at Appomattox, right? Incredible contradiction of history, right? But Juneteenth has clearly emerged as the alternative for our people to the hypocrisy of the 4th of July, because the 4th of July, 1776, our ancestors, North and South, were definitely somebody else's property, right? So we can't really claim the 4th of July the way others can, right? But Juneteenth is certainly that. In many spaces, Juneteenth is also a time to rally for the question of reparations. In the last several years, in spite of the COVID challenge too, by the way, the People's Organization for Progress has had an annual Juneteenth march and rally in support of reparations, and we're trying to get a reparations bill through the Jersey state legislature, like some other states have done and are trying to do. So this year's march and rally will be no different. The principal co-sponsor is the New Jersey Institute for Social Justice, and the Institute has got a very interesting space in this conversation because, as I said in our last conversation when talking about reparations, that the question of reparations has been in our hands, been in the Black community's hands almost exclusively since its inception, right? And that is now moving into multiracial spaces, and folks of different backgrounds are coming out in support of reparations, but rarely do you see a multiracial organization get out in front of the question. And some folks are questioning that too, whether or not it's even appropriate for an organization like the New Jersey Institute for Social Justice to be out in front of it, because it's not necessarily a black organization, but the proof of the pudding is in the sauce. The work that these young folks have done has been good, has been consistent, has been thorough, has been respected, and the community is embracing it. And that's in the end what matters. If you do your work so well and you win the community, keep rolling, right? So they will be the principal co-sponsors. I'm trying to find the flyer. It's going to be 12 noon, and I think and I want to be correct, because for years we would always assemble at the Lincoln Monument, but there's also the King Monument now too. So I want to make sure I got that right. But 12 noon next Saturday will be that march. Wednesday evening at NJ Pack, of all places, the Institute is having a serious conversation on the question of reparations to honor Juneteenth. And it will reflect one of the things that they did. And I have Ingrid Hill sending me everything but the reparations flyer. Is the New Jersey Reparations Advisory Council, right? Right on to that shout out right there on Walter Rodney. And it's a council. It's a council of veteran organizers and researchers that are getting out in front of what a reparations commission should look like, what a reparations commission should study, what a reparations committee should take up, right? To make sure, and that's a community lining to what should happen to prevent that kind of process from ultimately being co-opted. It's an incredible move that I think these young folks are taking it, and I'm very looking forward to. One of the folks on the board, one of the leaders on the commission, is Khalil Gibran Muhammad, who was a great grandson of all people, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who's a New Jersey resident, who I think who lives in South Orange, Maplewood, right, and has been at Harvard in recent years. And I know he's shifting to another school. I don't have that in front of me either, but he's one of the lead commissioners on this particular commission. And of course, our own Lawrence Hamm is on the commission as well. So we're looking forward to the research that they actually produce. New Jersey, of course, is known as the slave state of the North, was the last state to end slavery in the North, a state that would not support Lincoln in neither 1860 or 1864. A state that right in Kenilworth, New Jersey, was once the national headquarters for the Ku Klux Klan, right? And the state that gave birth to racial profiling back in the 1920s and still has not been honest about the impact of that racist legacy, right? So New Jersey definitely has a reparations conversation that needs to happen. And I'm
Did you
hoping
get to announce the city of East Orange's Juneteenth event?
No, I don't have that information. But
Okay.
we will be at the
There
Lincoln Monument. Diane, thank you for putting that in the chat in my text. Diane
and
Cole,
Chairman's here, but before
trying to
we
get
get
on. Yes,
started,
please.
the city of East Orange will be hosting their Juneteenth celebration on Wednesday, June 19th from 12 noon to 6 p.m. at Raleigh Park.
Okay, thank you for that. Now, Demo,
Yes, sir. How you doing?
what's going on? Tell everybody about what's happening on the 22nd and why that's so important.
Well, there's a lot happening on the 22nd, but one of the things that are happening is the annual reparations march that the People's Organization for Progress will have on Saturday, June 22nd, 12 noon. I believe we're starting at the Lincoln statue at 12 Springfield Avenue in Newark, New Jersey. And then we're going to rally and then march to the federal building and march back. But we're highlighting the reparations legislation in the state legislature, which is A602 and S3164. Those are the new numbers for the reparations task force bill in the New Jersey legislature. And then, of course,
repeat them again so everybody gets it.
Huh?
Repeat them again so everybody gets it.
A602 is the Assembly bill, and S3164 is the Senate bill. That's for the state reparations legislation. And then the federal bills are HR 40 and S40. That's the House and the Senate versions. And then beyond that, people like the December 12th movement, and even Ron Daniels and the Institute for the Black World 21st Century, they're calling on people to push President Biden to appoint a presidential reparations commission, to just go ahead and appoint them and let the work begin, and then let the the Congress pass the reparations legislation whenever that happens. But we wait on Congress, that bill might never get released. So people are asking President Biden to appoint a presidential reparations commission. And I support that. I support anything that's going to get this thing moving, because we've been piddling around with it since 1986. That's when Conyers introduced the first HR 40 bill. So how many years has it been since 1986? So I mean, after a while, you're like, are people taking this seriously? But I have to admit,
in 2 years, HR 40 will be 40 years old.
Well, you see what I'm saying? So in the meantime, the Democrats are always wanting black votes. They need to do something for these black votes. And by the executive order is actually on his desk.
That's right.
The question is he going to sign it?
Right.
It's not like, okay, you got to write it. No, they got an executive order written already. The question is he going to sign it? And it's a damn shame that we got to go through all these gyrations to get a piddling task force. It ain't even like it's a reparations bill.
That's right.
It's
a study.
I said that if I was
commissioned to study the question.
Right. If I was elected to the Senate, I would have introduced a bill with an amount for reparations and payments to African American descendants of enslaved African Americans, because this thing, to a certain point, you don't want it to become performative politics. People sign on because they know they can get black votes if they sign on, but they know the bill ain't gonna really go anywhere, because it's just not enough support in the Congress for it. But it has, but to be accurate, it does have more support than ever before. It's
been gaining support steadily in the last several years. And the racial climate in this country, and with the emergence of multiracial expressions of anti-racist social justice, has had a lot to do with that. So the needle is moving.
The needle is moving.
Whether or not these Democrats and and these other kind of folks are going to face reality and understand there's something they're going to have to deal with one way or another.
Yeah. So somebody should ask the question of the candidates, the 11 candidates running in the 10th congressional district, how many of them support support HR 40?
That's right. HR 40 and these local bills too. So that having said that, I want you to catch your breath. Y'all dressed up. I was just kind of speaking somewhere, right?
Yeah. I was at International High School in Patterson.
Right on. Right.
As you catch your breath, at the last presidential election, reparations was at the forefront, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really.
Reparations got more heat in 20 than it got in 24. And it was more heat because there was a lot of controversy around Bernie Sanders.
Right.
There was a question as to whether or not he was really supporting reparations, and Danny Glover kept pushing him, finally pushed him to make a statement on it. It was like May or June, right before the primary. But this time you haven't heard, a lot about it. And it makes me wonder sometimes. Sometimes I wonder, were people pushing it so hard in 20 as a stumbling block against Sanders? Is it try to keep him from making inroads in the Black community? And I often wonder about that, because
That's a mouthful.
I look around now, you don't see a lot of people talking about reparations. Where all these groups,
And everybody should have been pushed. It should have just been the pressure.
Right. You don't hear anybody talking about it.
Yeah, and I think at that time, everybody had a statement on what they were going to do, right?
But now everybody's like quiet,
Mm-hmm.
But I think people should turn the heat up under Biden, issue an executive order. And he could do it. He could do that, but I fear that he's moving more to the right. This whole thing he just did with the border, that was like a Trumpian kind of move.
That was terrible.
It's like a Trump kind of move, And then what he's doing with Israel,
just as
terrible. And I don't know, did y'all hear this on the news today? That Congress, Ed, did you hear this? That Congress passed the NDA, the National Defense Reauthorization Act, and a Senate Democrat included an amendment to the NDA, National Defense Reauthorization Act, to include automatic registration for the draft. Did y'all hear that today?
No.
Somebody Google that, because I heard that today on the radio.
Yeah, Donna's already
that a draft registration provision was included in the Defense Reauthorization Act that was passed by Congress today. Now that's very significant.
That's
yeah. And they snuck it like something. They snuck it like it was a stealth bomber. And the
sound like Jersey politics.
The person I heard talking about today was former congressman and former mayor of Cleveland, Dennis Kucinich.
We need to be paying attention.
Because and it mentions specific ages, 18 through 26. They're gonna automatically register people. Like, no, you ain't got to go down there. We just gonna put it in. And we're gonna call your number.
Yeah, that's incredible, because now, I mean, you have to register for the draft in order to get financial aid, right?
Right.
So, right. But now they're saying they're gonna automatically, register you. I mean, what is that about?
Yeah. Did anybody see that online? Anybody look at that?
Are you trying to see that, Donna?
Yeah, Donna's looking. Yeah, I can see it looking. Right. And I got like 20 windows.
If that's real, that's a really frightening thing, because that means that they're getting ready for something.
Yeah, exactly.
They're going to need soldiers for something.
Yeah.
Because, it's a volunteer army now, and everybody knows that they have not been hitting their quota, their aspirational quotas to register people. To get people to recruit people into the army. So I guess now they figure we just gonna draft people.
Yeah.
I mean, that's serious. If that's true,
that's serious.
That's very serious. But I hope people will come out for the reparations march next Saturday. One of the things that's encouraging is there are a lot of Juneteenth events going on, like a lot. Like all up and down the state of New Jersey, people are having Juneteenth events, and that's good, especially if it's being tied to the issue of reparations. I don't think we should be having any Juneteenth celebrations where reparations is not discussed.
That's the point we were trying to make before you got on. Right on.
Why? I was at this high school just now speaking, right? It was about, I would say, maybe 150 kids there because it was late. It was after school. But I was surprised to see that they had that big a crowd. And it was about 150 students. There were teachers, administrators there, etc. And they asked me to talk about Juneteenth, which I did. I asked them, I said, how many, Ed, I asked them, I said, how many students have read the Emancipation Proclamation? Not one hand went up.
Wow. Wow.
And this was a high school. And I was like, somebody need to go down to the Board of Education. How you going to celebrate Juneteenth and not have students read the Emancipation Proclamation in preparation for Juneteenth?
And we're old enough, Donna, you might have just missed it, right? When reading of the Emancipation Proclamation in our homes and in our, places like our churches and whatnot was something that we did to mark either January 1st or watch night going into January 1st. Or, it's one of the reasons why the March on Washington was done in 63.
Right.
So in the till and the Emancipation Proclamations, centennial. That was very much a part of our consciousness. Right?
We can, and that's overlooked a lot of time. That's overlooked. Like, people will remember Emmett Till, the 28th, right? But they tend to forget that the 63 March on Washington was the 100th anniversary of the Emancipation Proclamation. And that's significant, but I was stunned that not one, some of the teachers raised their hands. I'm like, I ain't talking about y'all.
Yeah, they raise their hands. All of their students should be raising their hands.
That's right.
They should be teaching the students.
I mean, I'm like, somebody need to go to the Board of Education. How you going to celebrate Juneteenth and not read the Emancipation Proclamation? And then I dare not. I know y'all gonna get some hate mail for this, but I dare not have asked a student to get up and read it, like to look it up on their phone and get up and read it.
Yeah.
Because some of our young people are in high school and can't read.
Yeah, that's true. That's absolutely true.
I mean, there's some of our young people, if you ask them to read the Emancipation Proclamation, they couldn't get through it without help. And that's something to really ponder, I mean,
Larry, that actually happened today.
It did.
It was introduced, right? Go ahead, Ed. I'm sorry.
The House passes defense's bill automatically registering men 18 to 26 for draft. And it says the House of Representatives passed a measure on Friday automatically registering men age 18 to 26 for selective services. It was part of the annual National Defense Authorization Act, NDAA, which sets out the United States government military and national security priorities over the next fiscal year. This year's NDAA authorizes $895.2 billion in military spending, a $9 billion increase from fiscal year 2024. While it hasn't been involved in over half a century, it's mandatory of all males United States citizens to register for the selective services, also known as the military draft, when they turn 18. Failure to register is classified as a felony. Wow. And comes with a host of legal challenges. Wow. Something's happening, Larry.
Something's happening, Ed. Something's happening, man.
So
had a draft in 50 years.
Since they want to criminalize you now for not registering, right? And now they're saying they're automatically going to do it, right? So whether you agree or disagree, you got a child that's 18 to 26, they automatically are going to be selected to go into the military. So no matter what policies this country put forth, right? you don't have a right like Muhammad Ali did, right, to say I disagree with that, right? And so I'm not going into the military. And they said no, that's not going to happen. We're already telling you if you don't, you're a felony, and automatically that's 5 years. We all know that. That's what Ali was told, right?
Yep. 5 years in Leavenworth.
Yeah,
that's right.
So I mean,
getting ready for it too.
Yeah, and you can believe if Trump is elected, you know he's going to go along with that. Right? He's automatically going to go along with that. Now, that's why I think that Zaid Tamika text out, a text to us over the weekend. Well, over this week, she sent out a text,
good,
and to Rakia, to Mitty, to what's the sister name, Monifa Bandelli, and myself. And she said, listen to this, Larry. She said that all of her, because she's got followers all over the country, young people. And what she said was, Trump is Biden is in trouble. Right. And the mayor said on the show, remember, Zaid, he said there's no enthusiasm, right, around this election. People more enthusiastic, right, about Trump, right, than they are about Biden. And I was talking with LT's people because, as you know, he endorsed Donald Trump. So I was talking to his people about LT coming on the show, and so he was agree. His people said, "Yeah, great, let's get him on." Then his people hit me back, Larry, and said, "Nah, he's not going to make any further statements. We're gearing him up because he's going to be torn during the football season to go after the black male vote." I'm like, wow.
So Lawrence Taylor is going to work for Donald Trump.
Yeah, he's already endorsed him. Right. He already endorsed him publicly. And so he's part of this. Part of what's being called the black room for Trump. Right. There's a black war room that's being established for Trump. And everybody in this war room is going to have a segment in the battleground states that Trump lost in. They're going to focus on particularly the black male vote, not the black female vote, but the black male vote. And LT is going to be one of those people leading that charge.
Well, they're getting paid.
And I'm telling you, they raised $1 billion, Larry. We're talking about the Biden campaign raised $1 billion.
They got money, they have plenty of money. That's right.
They're not spending money in the black community. And they just think that black people are going to come and vote for them. That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And that's the same thing that happened with Hillary. They're busy promoting that somehow these white women who didn't come out to support her this time around are going to come out to support Biden based around them losing the right to choose
Roe v. Wade.
Around, I mean, and the real conversation, Larry, that we should be having is about what's going to happen on the Supreme Court end.
Well, going back, just real brief, going back to the bill, Representative Andy Kim sits on that committee. So, if there's
Andy Kim for the Senate, what did he vote on? What was his position?
What was his position?
The Andy Kim that so many folks voted for.
Right.
That is the one.
He voted to bring back the draft, didn't he?
Well, let me see the votes.
Somebody voted for that damn bill.
Somebody gonna learn. Y'all gonna learn.
That's what Jay-Z said. He said, "You
gonna learn today."
Andy Kim put them articles. I saw him on Instagram and Facebook. Put them pictures up of Andy Kim together with black women. So they went out here, and now and he's rewarding the blacks that voted for him by reauthorizing the draft.
Thank you for your service.
Yep.
Even though you asked to serve, we're gonna put you out there anyway, Negro. That's right. And Rhino even weighed in. Trump's punk ass ain't never been to the surface, and he wants others to go. We hear you, Rhino.
Yeah, but see, here's the thing. It was a Democrat
Black feet
that introduced the amendment to bring the draft back.
Wow.
Who? Name him.
I don't know who it is yet, but I'm gonna find out. But I heard today it was a Democrat that introduced the amendment to the NDAA.
And for it to get through, they got to get some votes on both sides.
Right. That's exactly right. For the NDAA to get approved in the Senate, they got to get a majority of Democrats, because Democrats in the majority in the Senate, and they got to get a majority in the House. Now, they could approve it in the House without the Democrats. They could do it, but I don't think it's going to happen, because a lot of them Democrats want to be shown as voting for reauthorizing or authorizing the defense bill, which is nearly $1 trillion budget for the Pentagon. And as Ed said, read a $9 billion increase over the last budget.
And so their justification now, Larry, is it says the Senate bill seeks to boost United States military recruitment amid a shortfall of young men registering for the draft. So since since your kids ain't registered, we got something for their ass. We're gonna register them.
Yep.
Ain't that
automatically 18, starting at 18 to 26.
18 to 26, man.
Incredible.
Yeah.
The flower of youth to go and die in Ukraine.
Yeah.
That's what I think this is for.
Yeah.
I think that they see a land war
in
Ukraine and US troops ultimately ending up there.
Yeah.
Crazy. Take
It's
a beat,
nuts.
David. Listen, let me ask you this, because folks are asking, right? Now you just did a hell of a campaign with next to no resources, right? How are you assessing your own campaign and the push you just made, and how you see things going to play out? And folks want to know what's your next going to be on that front, if there's going to be a next.
Well, right now, there is a next, in the sense that right now I'm looking at how do we harness. It looks like I'm going to end up with a total of 47,000 votes.
And that ain't nothing to sneeze at.
And
that ain't nothing to sneeze at. 47,000. Right on. Go ahead.
47,000, and how to harness that and make that part of a political movement. That's what I'm concentrating on now. How to take them 47,000 people that voted for me, and how to I haven't answered the question. I'm asking the questions, how to take them and how to organize them into a political force, so that we can continue to push for the platform that I ran on. You know, whether or not I'm in the race, we still pushing for all the things that were part of the platform. And so that's one thing we're looking at. Then the other thing is, quite frankly, I think we need some massive voter registration between now and November. My position is, as dismal as things are, we should not encourage people to sit it out. We should encourage people to vote, and they can't vote unless they're registered. So, what's interesting is, on the one hand, I absolutely agree that there's a lot of discontent, a lot of alienation, a lot of pessimism about the election. But everywhere I go, even at this high school I spoke at, if there's one applause line I get, is that whenever I say Trump must be defeated, applause.
Good. That's helpful.
Like in the school I just spoke at, I talked all day long about Juneteenth, the Civil War. When I got to the end and I urged young people to register and vote, we got to defeat. That was the line that got the most applause, defeat Trump. When I'm in a church, I don't care what church it is, if I say we got to register and vote, defeat Trump, that's the applause line. So it's a paradox, right? And a contradiction. On one hand, we know that there are a lot of alienated, pessimistic, turned off people. But on the other hand, there are a lot of Black people who are like absolutely ready to do whatever they got to do politically to make sure that Trump is not returned to office in November. So it's a paradox. Now I'm telling you what I have seen in the streets. This is not a speculation.
Mm-hmm.
Whether I go to a church, whether I go to a mosque, whether I go to a high school, wherever I go, wherever I'm invited to speak, if I say Trump must be defeated, that's the applause. If I don't get applause anywhere else in the speech, I'll get it there. Like those folks that come out to these programs, they want to do that. But we also know that there are a lot of other folks that are turned off, that are pessimistic, that are alienated, and that want to sit it out. Personally, my position is not to sit it out. I'm going to tell the truth. I'm wrestling with some shit because now 8 months ago, I said that, I was running, that I wanted to win, but if I didn't win, I would support,
right,
whoever the Democratic Party nominee is for Senate. And I said I would support whoever the Democratic Party nominee is for president. Now, I'm wrestling with that now. I really am. I mean, I still feel that way, but I mean, Biden every day, Biden does something to make it harder for me to want to vote for him in November. That's the truth. That's how I really feel. He's making it hard for me. Never mind me going out and telling other people. Because there comes a point, when your own political credibility is on the line. And I don't want to get weaker. I want to get stronger. I don't want to get weaker. And there's a moral question. It's like Andy Kim, right? I was running against Andy Kim. Andy Kim's a nice guy. He go to church on Sunday. He take care of his family. He talk about his kids more than he talk about politics. But he voted for that $28 billion for Israel.
That's right.
That was a vote for genocide because the money is spent on bombs, 2,000-pound bombs that are dropped on Palestinian people and killing women, children, and men. And he's going to do that again. He's going to vote for it again. He also voted for, I tried to bring this out during the campaign, but I could never get these debates. Even the people who had debates that were kind of on my side, they structure these debates. So number one, you can't attack the incumbent.
Right.
You can't ask him any questions. Like y'all saw the debate at New Jersey, where was that? At the South Orange PAC. That was broadcast on NPR. Yeah. They wouldn't let me ask Andy Kim, the black brother that was chaired, Michael Hill, wouldn't let me ask. He let Patricia criticize or ask Kim a question. He wouldn't let me ask him a question. Now everybody knows Kim voted for that money for Israel. That's probably why he raised $10 million and got.
That's right.
That's what he bought the campaign.
That's right.
But the other thing people don't know, he voted to reauthorize the FISA Act. And FISA will allow warrantless surveillance of people in the United States. Now, I got that out on an NJTV program, but nobody else would pick up on that. Nobody else would pick up on that. So this whole thing is kind of skewed to the status quo. Everything works in tandem. We had a debate at Bethany. What kind of debate is it when the candidates come out one at a time? But see, they had it like that because I'm just guessing now, because Kim knew he couldn't deal with me. So we're gonna structure this so that we all come out one at a time. You come out, you ask questions, you're off, then the next person is on. What kind of debate is that?
That's not a debate at all.
It's not a debate at all. It's a showcase for the incumbent.
You know, so say that's a meet the candidate.
yeah, that's like meet the candidate. That's not a debate. you know, everything got crazy after the first debate with the NAACP because I took them to task, you know, and everything got crazy after that. Well, I mean, what kind of debate is it when your answer can only be 60 seconds? What kind of debate is that? And then the other thing is, we were in Jersey City for a debate where Andrew Washington was killed by the police. During the whole goddamn debate, they didn't ask anything about police brutality.
Right.
And Black people were part of the structure of the debate. It was a fraternity that put the debate together. Andrew Washington's family was sitting in the front row with a big picture of Andrew.
I told him.
And they about to wrap the thing up. And I'm like, wait a minute. We're gonna have a debate. We're gonna end the debate in the city where Andrew Washington was killed, and we're not gonna have one question on police brutality. Then everybody jumped up. They started attacking me. They said, well, you knew what the rules were. To hell with the damn rules. How are we gonna be in Jersey City where they kill Andrew Washington and y'all not gonna ask me a question about a question about police brutality?
Incredible.
You know, the thing, the whole political system, I'm telling you, is problematical. And this is how the other side of it is. This is how politicians look at stuff. They look at stuff and they look at the results. They say, well, Larry Hamm got 47,000 votes. He got 9.1% of the vote. Andy Kim got 74.8% of the vote. So obviously people must think Gaza is not important. I'm going to keep doing what I do. I'm talking about Biden. Oh, no, why should we change? As long as the numbers are working for us, why do we have to change anything? We want to give obviously the voters must be okay with giving aid to genocide, to the mass extermination of a people right before our very eyes. They must be okay with that because they vote for the people who in fact appropriate the money to make that happen.
Well, you know, Larry, I would venture to say I don't know if people really know. I think that, you know, there is this thing called low information in our community.
Yes.
And you know, just like you talked about with the you know, the entire Emancipation Proclamation, right? You know, our people just have low information, man. You know, and we're not tuned in, but we're tuned into partying and bullshit. You know what I mean? And you know, and that's not something I said. That's something Biggie Small said. You know what I mean? Right. And what's happening is that
really the last poets.
Yeah, the last poets, right? In less than 6 months. And in less than 6 months, you know, this country is about to shift hands, right? Yep. And so we've got all of that's going on. But Rhino, you know, in our last moments, man, we need to shift to you, you know, and tell us what's going on in hip hop, man. You muted.
And let's start while you got your t-shirt on.
Well, I'm gonna end on the t-shirt thing because
okay,
that's going on. There's something that's going on tomorrow with that. But I wanted to pick up kind of like where Brother Hamm was leaving off and where you were at, Ed, talking about, you know, party and bull. You know what I'm saying? What's going on? You know, the legendary iconic Chuck D from Public Enemy just recently put out a statement talking about rappers over 40, and he was making a statement. He basically said, if you're over 40 and spitting meaningless dark energy in rap, then you have to really think about what matters in the hip hop foundation that birthed your chance at it. And he also went on to say, he said, I'm a rap head. I'm in my 64th year. Hip hop is over 50 years. Different ages have different appeals, and elder folk money ain't stupid. He said, my listening ear doesn't want to hear the same street tale because that's for the new kids trying to find themselves in the world. He said, over 40, it's not crazy to hear an MC warn us about bad food, rent, mortgage, gas prices, kids. And he said, 20-year-old MCs have kids too. He said, pharmaceuticals, prostate, and insider battling. He said, instead of battling MCs, how about we F up cancer and diabetes? He said, there's a whole world of topics for MCs and over 40. He said, and over 40 money is good. Just check your local CVS and Walgreens line. So he's basically, making a statement that, the elders in hip hop, the elder rappers in hip hop need to start talking about what they're dealing with. You know what I'm saying? If we're dealing with these issues, we're dealing with the domestic issues and what we're dealing with even in Gaza, we got to speak on these things. We can't keep talking about the street raps, the street tales and stuff, because like you said, that's for the young kids that's out there in the streets that's still trying to figure it out. You know what I'm saying? A lot of us been past that already, and we got families and we're working people, tax paying folks, and and we got to talk about what's going on in our age, 40 in the 40s and 50s. You know what I'm saying? And that's basically what Chuck D was saying, and it kind of went viral, and it makes a lot of sense, especially in the times that we're in right now. We need to talk. We need to have these conversations, and it needs to be an adult conversation and an adult exchange between the people. You know what I mean? So
absolutely,
yeah. So that's one of the things that's going on in hip hop right now. Another thing that's going on, we mentioned last week that Common and Pete Rock have come together to start doing music together. They put out a song, Wise Up. We spoke about that last week, but they just also released another song from their upcoming album. The upcoming album is called The Auditorium Volume 1. And so far they've put out a song called Trying. They put out Wise Up, and they just released another one called Dreaming. So you might want to check that on YouTube. It's real nice. Pete Rock knows how to do some good music, and Common always comes with the right messages. You know what I'm saying? So check that out. Also new out in music and hip hop, LL Cool J just released what he says is his first single. I thought what he put out last year, The Force, I thought that would be the first single from the album, but I guess that was like a tease taste. But he's put out a single out now. He says it's the first release from the album that's coming out, produced totally by Q-Tip. The name of the song is Saturday Night Special. It features Rick Ross and Fat Joe. Now there's some mixed views on it. Everybody seems to like the music. You're not going to miss with Q-Tip on the production. Excuse me, but some of the lyrical content, the combined content lyrically between Ross, Fat Joe, and LL, there's some mixed views. LL's talking about what's going on in the streets, but he's talking about basically the consequences of it, and just what we were just speaking about earlier, as far as being an older statesman in hip hop and saying the right things. But then you got Fat Joe and Rick Ross that kind of just do their flossing and thing, and stuff in their lyrics. So it's some mixed views on the lyrical content on that, but everybody seems to love the music. But that's a song called Saturday Night Special by LL Cool J featuring Rick Ross and Fat Joe. Another release that was put out, Snoop Dogg has taken over Death Row Records now. He's the head honcho at Death Row Records now, and so he's got all his original heads: the Dog Pound, RBX, Rage, Daz, Corrupt. He's got all of them back together again at Death Row. And Dog Pound just released a song featuring Snoop, RBX, and the Lady of Rage called "Who the Hardest." Me personally, being a lyricist also, I would say Corrupt and Lady of Rage pretty much killed that record. They the lyrical power on that is crazy. And speaking of Corrupt, he's also featured with Master Killer on Rakim's latest song called Rebirth. Rakim has an album, a self-produced album, something that we've never heard yet. A self-produced album by Rakim is coming out later this year. I don't have the title of the album, but he has a single out right now by featuring Master Killer and Corrupt, and it's called Rebirth. So make sure you go and check that out as well. So this is all new music from our original rappers from back in the day, from the 80s, early 90s. These are, you know, our elders coming out with new music. So definitely check them out and support them. You know, we need that, man. We need our elders talking about what's going on. You know, something for us to relate to, because we can't relate to what's going on with the young kids. That's their world. You know what I mean? Right. We're grown adults in hip hop, and we need to be able to. We need music that we can relate to. Man. You know what I'm saying? It's hard to relate to some of the stuff that we're listening to. The shirt. This is my DJ crew. Operation Good Vibes OGV. Tomorrow we're doing. You know, it's June. It's Black Music Month. Tomorrow we're doing a Black Music Month raid train on Twitch, starting at 10 a.m. and it ends at 10 p.m. So it's all days, a bunch of DJs, and everyone's getting an hour apiece to represent Black Music Month. So that's going on tomorrow, starting at 10 a.m., ending at 10 p.m. I'm going on my usual time at 3 p.m. But it's twitch.tv. And you could just look for all of the DJs on there. What I'll try to do is post flyer. You can go to my Facebook page or my Instagram page, Rhino CMZ, and you'll see the flyer there for the whole lineup. But it's a whole lineup of DJs, and we're going to be representing Black Music Month tomorrow. And that's brought to you by Operation Good Vibes, OGV, and Serious Buzz. But that's it for me.
All right.
That's it.
All right.
Ham, I'm with you, brother. I'm with you. And you got my vote. One of them votes is definitely mine. Got it.
So as we
Zaid, I'm sorry. Did we get to announce the Popcorn Kids Juneteenth?
No, I didn't know.
Okay.
Trevor had it in his text.
Yeah,
they're doing something at the library on the 19th at 1 o'clock. And their next Saturday program is going to be the 29th. I think it's also at 1 o'clock.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. The Saturday, the 29th, is 11 o'clock at the Irvington Library. 11 o'clock.
I got 1 p.m. Okay.
No, the 19th. I'm sorry, the 29th. The 29th is 11 o'clock.
And the 19th is 1 p.m. Right.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
It says the 19th in the chat.
At 1 p.m.
It's at 1 p.m. That's right.
Yeah.
You said the 29th. You said the 29th.
29th is their library they're having to do two different programs.
Got it.
Different days, yeah.
The 19th is the Juneteenth program. The 29th is their monthly program.
All right, y'all. So as we get ready to wrap up, we're out of time. But I'm gonna let everybody get a final word. But you know, one of the things I was hearing, Rhino, was that Method Man said this week he was invited to the Hot 97 thing, and he said he's gonna pass. He said, "Nah," he said, "That ain't for me no more." You know?
Yeah. Well, him and Redman were at the recent Hot 97 Summer Jam, and he wasn't feeling it, man. He said he was getting weak responses from the audience. You know what I'm saying? It's a younger audience, and that's basically what he was saying in the statement, is that it's the generation gap. The generation gap is just too wide right now.
Yeah.
You know, that he's not comfortable. He's not comfortable for that audience.
God, oh my goodness.
Yeah, he did. I heard him. You know, somebody asked him as he was walking. He said, "Yo, man," he said, "that's just not my crowd, man."
Yeah, he said it's not his crowd anymore, man.
Yeah.
You know, and you know what's funny though, after that statement came up, I had recently come across an old clip of Method Man back in 2009, and he was talking down about Hot 97's Summer Jam. So he's had issues with Summer Jam for a while anyway. He wasn't really feeling it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know how it is, man. At some point in the 90s, there was a separation. You know what I'm saying? You know, and then and people can talk about Diddy and all of that. You know what I'm saying? We've had some separation where you had the player community, I guess, and then you had the raw underground hip hop community, and they were kind of butting heads. You know what I'm saying? You remember there was tension between Wu-Tang and Biggie and Bad Boy and all of that. You know what I'm saying? Not Biggie, but Diddy and Bad Boy. You know, we had these separations, and yeah, I mean it's crazy, man. But Method Man has been part of that for a long time. You know, just fighting with what's been going on in hip hop. You know, since the '90s, since things changed and went gangster. Since you know, things are not. I don't want to say pure, but they're not from their original state. You know what I'm saying? And people are focused way too much on money and numbers right now, and not the spirit and the souls of the people, of the and the listeners. You know what I'm saying? You know, artists are supposed to relate and touch the people. You know, but when you have people who are handling artists and everything that they're handling is based around money and numbers, that communication gets lost.
Well, I think that's interesting that you say that, Rhino, because I even heard LL Cool J say on I forget that brother's name, used to be on Hot 90, used to be on MTV Jams, that wear a hat all the time.
Pass the mic? No.
Are you talking about Sway?
Sway.
Sway,
And Sway asked him a question, and get this, Larry. LL Cool J said, "Man, he said, let me be truthful with y'all." He said, "I have no damn idea how they make all that money, brother." He said, "I'd never made that kind of money." Right? he said these kids be holding up all this money to the air and all that shit. He said, I see Rick Ross and all. He said, brother, he said, "I never made that kind of money." He said, "So how they making that money?" He said, "I have no idea." And he said, "I had hit records too." Right? So, you know, and that's like all them brothers be like, "I have no idea how them points and clicks and all that stuff operating, how they make it." L said, "Man," he said, "Sway, I'm just gonna be honest with you. I have never made that kind of money."
But like a Rick Ross, he diversified his money. But listen, Method Man and Red Man, I know I was just going through listening to them on Pastor Mike. They will. That is definitely our time, and I can't wait to some Sounds of the City KRS-One. Our time is probably the time that can get you up at any time they hit the stage. So I don't know. I don't even think if all five of us went to Hot 97 now, we may not even enjoy it. So
I mean, it's for a new generation. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
for a new generation.
Not happening.
But our generation has a lot of power. We just need to utilize it properly.
That's right.
Because we're the adults. We were the teenagers then, but now we're the grown folk now, and we're the generation that has to make these changes and use our power for the right things, man. So yeah, it's really on us, man. So that's why I say again, please support your artists, man. Support your classic artists. You know, support Common and Pete Rock, LL Cool J. Support Snoop Dogg Pound, Rakim, Chuck D, Public Enemy. You know, support all of these artists, man, because you know they're putting, Nas and DJ Premier. You know, support these artists because they're putting out good music and they're talking about stuff that relates to our generation.
Yeah.
And telling our stories too. Nas is just and his narrations are so many stories. 50 Cent. Our time is now. Yeah.
So listen, y'all, we out of time. Zaid, you got any announcements you want to make real quick?
No, I think we've covered them. I just want to appreciate the guests that we've had on. We had an amazing conversation with Akile and and Jesse Nevel of the Uhuru Movement, and we're rallying support for Uhuru 3. We don't want no new political prisoners, right? We want to also support Lisa. She goes to court on Tuesday, right? And appreciate Soma for what they did to bring attention to her case. And we got work to do. We got work to do. And our daughters from the Caribbean Commission, we got to go get some of that food.
We definitely do. Donna, you got any announcements you need to make?
Nope. I do want to say Happy Father's Day to each and every one of you and to our listening audience. And thank you for all that you do, whether your father in your household and to the community. Thank you for that.
Well, I'll do this, and thank you for that, Donna. I want to shout out a young man who we had on the show. We need to bring him back. Quentin Walcott, who was one of the lead voices around domestic violence among Black men, had a Father's Day pledge where he had all the fathers that do community-based violence intervention work in New York City take their 9th annual pledge against violence, right? In their community. It's a powerful set. It's a powerful set. So I want to shout out Q for what he did with that.
And Larry, you got any announcements you want to make, my brother? Beyond?
No. I announced the march for reparations, but I just want to underscore what Donna said. I want to say Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there, and I want the brothers to be encouraged. It's not easy being a father in the 21st century. I want to give a shout out to all the brothers that are doing the right thing, that are trying to do the right thing.
Yeah.
People say do the right thing. Well, you got to have certain tools to do the right thing. You got to have an income. You got to have some job. You got to have there's a whole thing
our kids are feeling this stuff
whole
different
thing
too.
going on out here to demonize
That's right.
Black men.
That's right.
Yep.
Demonize Black men, and I'm against it. And I know a lot of brothers who are having difficulty, but they're having difficulties because the conditions that they live in are difficult. But I just want to give a shout out, say Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there that are doing the right thing and trying to do the right thing and want to do the right thing.
Yep.
And Ed, I'm just sorry I did miss. Mayor Green is having a Father's Day brunch tomorrow at Langston Hughes, and it's at 11 to 2 p.m. 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. That's Ted Green. Mayor Ted Green is having a Father's Day brunch tomorrow, Langston Hughes, 11 a.m. to 2.
Does it require registration?
No.
Well, I definitely want to echo that myself. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers. But I also want to remind everybody that the Westward Councilman, Pat Council, his Juneteenth celebration is tomorrow. He's doing a block party that starts at 11 o'clock to 7. Our brother Bashir, is going to open everything up with the libation.
Yeah.
And so that starts tomorrow, and it's taking place on Bergen Street and Lyons Avenue in the Westwood. Starts at 11, ends at 7. All right. So want to thank everybody, for tuning in. I know we're 15 minutes late, but we thank y'all for tuning in to All Politics Local, America's number one political hip hop radio talk show. We'll see y'all next time. As my brother Zaid said, we will catch him at Zaid.
Whirlwind.
Catch y'all in the world.
Don't stop.
Peace.
Peace.